Okay, ding-dongs. If you don't subscribe to Jeremy Ice and Fire, you're gonna spend the night in the box.
Aren't cooey.
I think this is when it happened.
Okay.
Oh my god.
I did try to warn you.
Some people still driving around, huh?
It's the worst part. You still expect to find the road that takes you home. It's the part that's cruel.
Maybe we missed the sign for the highway.
We didn't miss the sign.
Where are we? So you're telling me I'm in a mystical town. I can't leave. These woods are not safe after dark.
I can still hear those things whispering. We are stuck.
I'm gonna find us a way out of this place.
Everyone in this town has been exactly where you are right now. There are things you need to know about where you are. This is gonna be the worst night of your life. Do you believe in monsters?
And welcome welcome all to the Fromville Hour on this fine Wednesday evening. And it is good to be back. I know I've been away for a little bit. We've had, as many of you know, at least those of you that are in the Discord, a loss in the family recently. So I wanted to get on here and do one final From deep dive stream before I take a little small break. Nothing too long, but, I may take a break for, a few days from streaming. But I wanted to do one last one. At least one last one before I take a little hiatus and dive into all things from Season 5, in particular, all of the unanswered questions that we have been dying to get answers to for all of these years now. Now, a lot of you made some, or a few of you made some requests in the Discord about creating a new channel in the Discord, specifically dedicated to Season 5 unanswered questions, which I did. I went there, I made the channel, and you guys quickly filled that thing up with just about every question imaginable that we still have heading into Season 5. So I thought tonight we would go over some of those, some of the questions that you guys have the most. What are the deepest, darkest, burning desire questions that you guys need to have answered in the final season? And of course, all thing else from, and everything else that we're going to be covering on the channel going forward as well. And yeah, it's been, we had a bit of a rough time these last few days. Again, a death in the family is never easy, but I am super thankful to have an awesome community like this to kind of hang out, forget about it for a little bit, and just talk some From and all the other shows and things that we all love in this life. But yeah, RIP to my father, my old man. Recently, his battle with ALS came to an end, and he fought hard. He went very peacefully, surrounded by family, and very thankful for that. But yeah, tonight, dedicating the stream to him, and we are going to be diving into all things From. So I want to hear from you guys. What are your deepest desires, your darkest questions heading into Season 5? with season 5 being the final season, this is it. Whatever comes in this final season is all we are going to get in terms of definitive answers. And I have to imagine there are going to be some things that they do leave out. There's no way they're going to be able to get every little tiny thing, especially when I see all the questions that you guys have been putting in that Discord channel already. No way they'll be able to get to everything, unfortunately. But what are some of the things that they absolutely have to get to? Things that the story just will not be complete if they don't get to. That is the stuff that we are going to be talking about tonight. But again, big thank you to each and every one of you for all the support. I do very much appreciate it. And yes, 2027 just cannot come soon enough. Not just because 2026 was, kind of not a shit year. 2026 has been a great year up until recently. But 2027 is going to be insane when it comes to all of our favorite stuff coming back. We have just about everything to look forward to in 2027. We have the final season of From coming. We have Severance coming back. We have A Night of the Seven Kingdoms coming back. We have Shogun Season 2 coming back. So many big stuff, so many big shows and films are coming out in 2027. It's going to be a massive year for the channel, and I'm looking forward to it. Very, very much looking forward to it. I cannot wait to Severance in particular. Big Dago, every time I see your avatar, I want to watch Severance that much more every time I see Mark. For those who haven't seen Severance, this is the logo from Severance season 1, one of the main characters, Mark. It's just such a good show. Like, Severance is probably one of the shows that I miss the most. I mean, I don't miss From as much just because we literally just got done watching From. If we hadn't just finished a season of From, I would probably miss From the most. But seeing as it's been a while since we've seen anything new from Severance, I probably miss Severance the most out of all the shows we're going to be getting in 2027. Although Shogun is up there too. Anybody who was here during my Shogun coverage, you guys know how much I loved Shogun, and that was actually a show my dad loved too. Like, that was one thing that he and I used to watch together. He loved Shogun. So I'm really looking forward to those two, Shogun and Severance. Like, bring those fucking two shows back on. That is what I want to see. Shogun and Severance. But yeah, there's so much good stuff coming out. So much good stuff coming out in 2027. And yes, Rogue Prince, it cannot come soon enough. Yeah, imagine Severance and From get released the same week. Oof. Now, that is one thing that I did always kind of fear. The fan in me would love that, don't get me wrong, but the content creator, YouTuber in me, like, would not hate it, but it's just like, oh man, to cover two, like, of my main shows at the same time is, it's doable, but it's just a lot of work. I love how up until now, it's kind of lined up where one kind of precedes the other, one kind of follows the other. We've been very lucky in that regard. Although we had a little bit of overlap between House of the Dragon and From this year. Like, From got to like episode 8 when House of the Dragon was getting ready to start, so it was a little bit of an overlap, which made for a hectic couple weeks, but it was fun. But yeah, no, that would be crazy if Pam Jam, if From and Severance got released like during the same time, if they were running concurrently. That would be nuts, because those are two of the biggest shows that we cover here on the channel, and I like to dedicate a ton of content to each one of those shows. So if they were to play at the same time, it would just feel like I would have to be like lesser than on one or the other to kind of get both of them done. You know what I mean? Because there's so much content that I love doing on both of those shows. So yeah, that would not be fun. That would not be too fun if Severance and From released in the same week. Just from a YouTube standpoint, but from a fan standpoint, I'd fucking love it. I love that. That'd be fun. Be fun to watch. But yeah, it would be nuts. It would be nuts, but fun. Indeed. Welcome, Random Traveler. Good to see you as well. We got Bushka Blue in the house. Welcome, everybody. I see Kathleen here. Reds, welcome. Minerva's in the house. Ashley, welcome everybody. So good to see each and every one of you. And again, big thank you to all of you for all of the well wishes and support. You guys have been freaking awesome. Absolutely awesome. We got April in the house. We got Adrian. We got Mita. We got Laura. Welcome one. All the Fromly here. We got Xavier. What is up, Xavier? Good to see you as well, my friend. Passionate Chronicles. Welcome. I see Bill Chill in the building. Welcome. Yeah, I've accepted it. Yeah, R Breezy says, yeah, I've accepted it at this point as long as they answer the major mysteries as well. And that's kind of where I'm at too. I agree. Like, I've kind of come to terms with, they're just not going to be able to get every single tiny little thing. You know what I mean? But yeah, as long as they can get the main ones, like the main mysteries that really need to be solved in order to like tell the story properly, that's what matters most. Yes, I would love to see them be able to get every single little thing, but it's just not, I don't think it's realistic. But getting the main stuff that really, really matters to actually tell the story, that is the most important part for sure. For sure. I mean, I've been wondering if they're going to end on a dark note as well. Like, again, I think a lot of us are assuming that, the people in Fromville are just going to end up getting out. Like, yeah, there'll probably be a big price. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's not going to be easy. But I think a lot of us are assuming that whoever is surviving at the end of the show will most likely make it out. They will most likely figure out what they need to do. This will most likely be the cycle that finally breaks the cycle. I think a lot of us are assuming that. But I mean, what if not? We have no guarantee that something like that will even happen. I mean, if anything, we've seen on this show that they don't mind kind of, subverting expectations every once in a while and not following the same kind of horror tropes and, molds that many horror and mystery shows have followed up until this point. From doesn't mind going off the beaten path every once in a while. I mean, you guys know this. So yeah, I think there's totally, I think there's totally a possibility, a realm where From does end on a little bit of a darker note and maybe not quite as happy as we thought. I always expected kind of a bittersweet ending, a little bit of good, a little bit of bad. Like, again, them to make it, them to succeed, but it to come at a massive cost, like a huge cost, like that really means something. Not a cost in a sense where you just lose a few characters. I mean a deep, deep, like scarred cost that the survivors have to carry with them for the rest of their lives, those that do survive. That kind of deep cost. But who knows? Maybe it could get even darker, and they might not get a happy ending. I think only a handful of survivors will, and most will die getting them out. And again, I think we could see that. I think we could see that. Very few of our core original main cast making it all the way to the end and making it out. I could very much see it. I always envisioned it being a very small group. Very, very, like I always envisioned Kenny there. Ethan, Julie. I kind of always envisioned Sarah there for some reason, but beyond that, like there's a lot of characters that I always just don't envision making it to the real world if they do make it out. Like Boyd, he's not going to be there. He will definitely die saving everybody. I don't expect Victor to make it out. I don't expect Jade to make it out. I think Tabitha will. I don't think Jade will. I don't know. I think most of these characters, I just always assumed. It's kind of just how I've always pictured the ending being a very, very small group, maybe 5 characters or so, 6 characters or so make it out, and everyone else dies. But who knows? Again, season 4 definitely subverted, I think, a lot of our expectations in that regard, where I think a lot of us in season 4 were expecting more deaths. I know I was. Heading into season 3, we got 2 pretty big major character deaths in Tien Chen and Jim. And I thought, okay, season 4 definitely has to top that. There's no way they're not going to top that. And they didn't. They didn't even come close to topping that, in my opinion, anyway. I mean, yeah, they killed off Elgin and Marielle and NPC fucking Roger. But they didn't even want to have Patty blow her brains out. Like, apparently Patty was supposed to originally blow her brains out in that scene when she's in the car, when she grabs Boyd's gun. But I guess they changed it last minute because they thought it might be a little too much. I don't know why. That finale was definitely not too much in any means. But I don't know. I was expecting a lot more character deaths in season 4. So maybe now heading into season 5, I need to revamp my expectations. Maybe not as many characters are going to die as I thought, or maybe they're just saving all of the character deaths for the final season. That's also a possibility as well. But yeah, I always assumed it being I always pictured it anyway, being a very small group that's going to survive this. Few characters, a few of our core characters from season 1. That's about it. Question for the show: what is this from place? Yeah, I mean, definitely one of the main ones that needs to get answered, right? What is from? What is Fromville? What is this area? This dimension, this reality, this plane of existence, whatever you want to call it. What is it? What is it really? And will we get a satisfying, definitive explanation for what this place is, how it came to be, why it came to be, what purpose does it serve, and all of that. These are things that we need to get. We need to get. For example, I don't think we will ever find out who the woman in the kimono is. I hope I'm wrong, though. I don't think we will either. I don't think we'll ever see the kimono creature again at all. I think the kimono creature has kind of served her purpose in season 3. She fulfilled the role that she was meant to fulfill, and that was to birth Smiley back into the world. She was the supernatural Fromville midwife, I guess you could say, is what it seemed like. So I'm not expecting her to come back either. And again, a big thank you to each and every one of you for all the well wishes. You guys really have been fucking awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Very much appreciated. All right, let's see what we got. Oh, we got Katrina Marie for $9.99. Thank you so much, Katrina Marie, for the $9.99. Very, very much appreciate it. Did Doug also die in Fromville, or did this fairy witch person always look like Doug? His conflict with Tabitha made it sound like he may have come from the same time as them. Yeah, that's something that definitely needs to get explained way more. And that was one of the first things that I put, when I recently did my video on things that season 5 absolutely has to answer. Not everything that we want to get answered, but the things that really have to get answered in order for the narrative to feel completely told. And that is one of them. That major reveal, that major setup of the man in yellow having that conversation with Tabitha, asking her, do you remember me? Oh, you don't remember who I am yet. Definitely a strong indication that there is a real history there. Is the man in yellow one of the original settlers? Or like you said, did he always look like this? What is his original form? What is his true real form? Or is this Doug form his real form? A lot of questions there that still need to get answered, and yeah, that's something we really need to get to the bottom of. And I thought we were going to get a little bit more towards the Man in Yellow's origins in season 4, because just the way that they introduced the villain, which was great. They introduced the villain incredibly good at the end of season 3, just coming out of nowhere, ripping out fucking Jim's throat while we see this future version of Julie. It was a crazy finale, probably one of the better finales they've done, maybe the best finale. But I think it left a lot of us with, okay, shit, we cannot wait to get to season 4 and learn who this man in yellow is, learn more about him. And we didn't really get any of that. I mean, we learned a little bit more about the abilities of the man in yellow and what he or Sophia is capable of. But in terms of who this person really is, who this creature really is, their origins, where they came from, its connection, its original relationship with Tabitha, yeah, we still know nothing about this character's backstory. But again, that's why they have a final season, to get into all of this stuff here. But yeah, these are all questions that I want to know as well, Katrina. Is this Doug his original form, or is this just another human kind of skin that he's worn in the past, someone that also died in Fromville, like seemingly Sophia did? Sophia seemed to be a regular human that died in Fromville, and it's now an identity that he wears. Is this man in yellow similar to that, or is that his original form? We need to know. What is the true form of the man in yellow? But thank you so much, Katrina Marie, for the $9.99. I very, 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 very much appreciate that. And I owe you. All right. Let's see what else we got. Okay, where was I? How'd you like Lantern? Seems pretty well done so far. I'm kind of on the fence about Lantern so far. So far, some of it is well done. Me, I don't mind taking a character like a Green Lantern, a comic book character, and taking him out of his element, which is not the comic book kind of setting, the kind of fantastical comic book setting that we get in comic books. I don't mind taking a character like Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, aging him up a bit, putting him in this realistic kind of true detective style setting. I actually don't mind that. I think that can actually be done very, very well if the writing is there. Again, the writing needs to be good. And I feel like the first episode was I liked it. I liked the first episode. The second episode I didn't like as much. But again, it's definitely something I am going to continue to still watch. I'm probably going to do a few more videos on it. But so far, I am intrigued. I am definitely at least still intrigued that I want to see where this is going to go. Just because, again, it's something totally different where you're taking this kind of comic book character and throwing him in a totally different world. And again, that can work really well or it can crash and burn. And I want to see which way it's going to go either way. But either way, I'm intrigued. I think Kyle Chandler as Hal Jordan, as an older Hal Jordan, he's good. He's good. I like his performance. I think he's been funny. I think he feels like what an old version of Hal Jordan would feel like. And the actor playing Jon Stewart feels like a young Jon Stewart. So I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued. Oh, and welcome to my awesome PM. Welcome.
Hi. Hi,
Hi.
Jeremy. Of course,
Mm,
as I have told you before, my heart goes out to you and your
I
family.
appreciate it.
My condolences. Um, Hello, Chad. I did meet Jeremy's father, and he was just such an awesome man. He was very honest, very funny,
Mm,
very lively. So,
very lively.
once
Lively
again,
party. Mm,
mhm,
thank you.
we're all
No, I
here for
appreciate
you.
that. I appreciate that. I do. It's been tough, but we're getting through it. We're getting through it. But thank you. And he loved you. You know that. But yeah, we're talking pretty much all things, tonight from season 5. And even other shows that we're looking forward to. I was just saying earlier before you got here, and I know you'll appreciate it too because you love Severance just as much, if not even more, than I do. I feel like Severance is the show I miss the most out of all of the really good shows that we're going to be getting in 2027. The final season of From, Shogun, Night of the Seven Kingdoms, there's so much good stuff. But for me, I truly think Severance is the show I miss the most.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to agree. The finale of Severance was amazing. Having to choose between
Mm.
Gemma and, I'm even forgetting the name of the other one. This is how long it's
Yeah,
been.
I know it's been so long. Gemma and
And Helly.
Helly.
So I was actually recently reading an article that was
Oh yeah.
very harsh when it came to Apple TV. They were
Ooh,
discussing Severance and how amazing of a show it is.
it's
And the
so good.
title was Apple TV is Not Worth Waiting For. And it
Harsh.
basically, just came down to the fact that they have amazing shows like Severance, but
They
then it
take too
takes them
long.
such a long time. It
Yeah.
takes them years,
Yep.
years to give you the second season. I mean,
Yep.
we waited years for the second season, and then it takes again years to give you the third season. And so you don't have a consistency there. And it does get to the point where you love it. Yes, I love Severance, but you kind of start to wonder,
Yeah.
is it worth waiting for? Of course, we
Mhm.
move on to other shows, and
Yeah.
it kind of breaks your heart that you get invested, you're watching every week, and then it just gets pulled from you
And then
to
it's just
never be
gone.
seen again. Yeah.
And you're right. With From, waiting a year and a half, 2 years in between seasons of From, like that sucks. That really sucks. But Severance, yeah, it was even worse. Like we legit waited 3 years, 3 full years
Mm.
almost in between the time season 1 premiered and the time season 2 premiered. Like legit almost 3 years. And they promised that we would not have to wait as long in between seasons 2 and 3. And so far, it seems like they're kind of living up to that promise. I mean, I know they only knocked a year off, but 2 years instead of three, or 2.5 years instead of 3 years isn't a whole lot better, to be honest.
No.
But yeah, no, I mean, I think it's very true. But I think it's not just Apple. I think it's most of these shows. Like you look at just about all of these streaming services and all of these really big shows, HBO, Netflix, Apple TV. Nobody is putting out like their big season shows a season every year. Just about everything you kind of have to wait a year and a half, 2 years in between seasons now. And like you said, and when it finally does come around, it's here and gone in a flash because we're only getting 8 or 10 episode seasons for most of these shows. And I think back to like the days of Lost, and I totally you totally take it for granted back then because it was just the norm. That's just how TV was back then. But looking back, Lost was on for like 5 months out of the year, every single year. Like that's
Hmm.
insane. Like thinking back about that, like could you imagine having 5 straight months of From to watch? 20
I would love that.
episodes, 20, yeah, 24 episodes in a season instead of 10. Like that's what it was. Like, and it's so crazy thinking
Hmm.
that that was only just a few years ago that we were getting shows that were on air for like 4 to 5 months straight, off air for 4 to 5 months straight, and then they were back on. Like that's a crazy rotation that they used to be able to pull off.
Yes. And you know what? I'll tell you this much. I have been thinking, meditating on it, um, watching, as we did a rewatch. I genuinely think that the 8 episodes and one more season being all they need to tell the story of From, I don't think that's a good call. I genuinely think that they could benefit from more episodes if it's going to be just one more season or an entire sixth season, because there's
Mm,
a lot of things that, like your title of your video, they need to be answered, but also that the show, because it is such an amazing show, would benefit from showing us things on screen. We know that MGM, this is their, like, you know star show. MGM, they're putting it everywhere, right? This is marketing. They're marketing you to get a subscription because of From. So you could
yeah.
really benefit from a whole nother season. For example, Eloise. The whole Eloise concept, instead of having that need, it was almost like the creators felt the need, extreme need, when you're going to Reddit to answer some fan questions, because you know that you're not going to include it in the show.
Mhm.
So that's when I'm talking about you could definitely benefit from a whole nother season. You
Oh, I'm
can
sure they could. Yeah.
show us on screen the whole Eloise situation. You could
Mhm.
do, flashbacks. You can close everything that you have left open ended for us. I
Yeah.
don't think that 8 episodes is enough. I think it's enough so that
Well,
they
we'll have
can
10. We'll have
solve
10
it.
episodes.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
even 10 isn't enough. It might not be enough,
no,
to be
it's not
honest.
enough. It's not enough.
Yeah.
Because when it came to Reddit, that is the feeling. The feeling was that the creators themselves felt an overwhelming sense that they needed to provide us answers before we even saw the fourth season, knowing already we're not even including, half of the questions we left you with. So here's all of our answers on Reddit. There should not be a need for that. They
Mhm.
should be able to have the time and the budget to answer on screen. And MGM, this is their golden goose. So, I mean, I would throw money at the show. Give them another season, throw money at the show, have them do flashbacks, have them answer what they told us verbally, answer it in the show.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, and again, I think that's why they would have definitely, at the very least, benefited from more episodes. Again, 10 episodes it seems to be like the max that most shows are willing to do these days. And, budget has a big thing to do with it. They're spending, and it's kind of ironic too, because they're spending way more money now on shows and producing far, far fewer episodes. And that's because television, has really kind of, the production quality, I guess you could say, on television has really stepped up. You look at a lot of television shows nowadays, and for some of them, the quality is just as good as like a big budget feature film, like Severance and Shogun and shows like that. Those big budget shows, for instance, they very much are just like feature films. And I think that is a huge factor in why we're getting way, way fewer episodes and why they're taking way longer to produce. But
Mhm.
I don't know. I just feel like the older format was just better. I mean, you look at the kind of shows that we were getting just a few years ago. The production quality was still incredibly good. Like Lost was like an incredibly, really well produced show for the budget that it had. And it wasn't the only one. You had other shows like 24, Sons of Anarchy, a lot of like really good shows that were produced just with a fraction of the price that shows are costing nowadays. But yeah, I don't know. I guess it'll be interesting heading into this, this fifth and final season. Like you said, only 10 episodes left. Is that going to be enough to ultimately tell everything, to wrap up the entire story? And you're right. It seems like a lot of people are genuinely worried, whether it is or not. And that's understandable. I mean, we've talked about it. We've been a little vocal about it that at times they didn't always manage their season four time as well as they could have in terms of plot
Mhm.
progression and reveals. So yeah, I don't know. I'm very intrigued heading into this final season to see what the pacing of it is going to look like. Are they going to be jamming to try and get everything in, or do they have a sound plan where they just genuinely feel 10 episodes is all they need to tell the story perfectly? Maybe they can. I don't know. I want to see. I can't wait. I can't freaking wait to see.
Well, we'll see, right?
We'll see.
But they already, and I hate to be critical because I love this show. If I am
Mm,
giving criticism, I love the show, I love the creators. I think it was a genius idea and concept. Okay, so it's not coming from a place of dislike, it is coming from a place of love. They have
mm.
already failed
Oof.
at closing the cycle and the way that it should have been closed of these questions, like the Eloise question. For example, Katrina is saying it perfectly. When I go back to rewatch this in 10 years, or other people, when other people start watching from season one all the way to the
Yeah, like
finale,
the answers on
we're
Reddit,
not going to
that stuff.
remember what the creator said on
Yeah.
Reddit. You're not going to have the Reddit questions available on
And not
screen.
only that, like the missing posters, like the wanted and missing posters, that's like the only place you can get information in terms of like where were the Matthews family traveling to and from when they get trapped in Fromville? How long were they missing? How long has this family been in here? There is a lot of like good, character development information that isn't in the actual episodes. Like this, like you said, the stuff on Reddit, the stuff on the wanted cards. I mean, the stuff on the wanted cards isn't getting into the show at this point, but
No.
all of those questions that they answered on Reddit, yeah, I mean, if they're not all answered on the show as well, it's gonna feel incomplete to people who only watch the show.
And you know what? When it comes to a show that is going to withstand the test of time, a show that people will go back and say, I heard about From, never watched From, and they'll watch it years from now. Because I do believe it's such an amazing concept, I would like the show to
Absolutely.
stand on its own as a
Yes.
complete story, right?
Yeah. And
It's
people five,
fun that
10
they're
years
doing
from
the
now,
Reddit.
yeah,
It's fun
we
that
don't
they're
want
doing Reddit and the posters because it's interactive for the people right now. But
but
people,
it
when
can't be
they
a
watch in the
crutch.
future, you are not going to be looking at the Reddit, that's going to get buried.
Exactly.
You're not going to have that information. I mean, when my baby is old enough, I'm going to be like, sit down, watch
You
From.
gotta watch
And
From,
they're not
yeah.
going to have this Reddit
Yeah,
post. I'm going to
you're
be
not
like,
gonna
you
go
have to go
search
back two
Reddit.
years ago, to
Exactly.
decades, and look for Reddit posts to get
All
that
right, hey, you're
answer.
gonna go watch From, but when you're done watching From, you're gonna have to go to this very specific Reddit post from like 20
It's not
years
even
ago,
going
and
to
you're gonna have to
exist
get
anymore.
you're gonna have to get some of the answers that were in the show there. No, no, you're right. I mean, legit, just about everything that they answered on those Reddit questions, yeah, that stuff needs to be in the fifth and final season. It
I
does.
mean, think about Reddit. I know that it's a big platform now, but so was MySpace. And what happened to MySpace? Like, all of your info got wiped, you can't
Oh,
access it. So years from now, decades from now, if that is where you put the source of your answers and it's gone, we don't know what's going to happen with tech or websites. They could be grand
yeah.
like MySpace, and all of a sudden they go out of fashion. You could lose that information. That's why it should have been in the show. And they really, really could just benefit from a whole nother season. I'm not quite understanding why they wouldn't get another one. I mean, like people are saying in the
Mm.
chat, this is MGM's big show. Why wouldn't
Oh
you
yeah.
give them that?
I'm
And
sure
then
they
if you're
would.
the creator, I mean, this is a dream come true. You get to experiment and show everything that you thought about on screen. I'm just not getting it.
No, I mean with From as big as it is, I have to imagine that if John Griffin, Jeff Pickner, and Jack Bender went to MGM, went to Michael Gherkin, I believe the head of MGM is, and if you ever see the guy speak about From, he's giddy about it. The head of MGM fucking loves From. Just by the way he talks about it, you can just tell he's a genuine fan of the show. He's super excited every time he explains about it. I have to imagine that if they went to him and said, "Hey, we need a sixth season. Hey, we need a seventh season," MGM would write the check in a heartbeat. I have to imagine if they're ending it at 5 seasons, it's
Mm-hmm.
because it's the creators making that decision, not the network. Because that's just how networks are. Like MGM knows they have a gold mine on their hands with From. They don't want it to end any more than we do. So I have to imagine if it's ending at 5 seasons, it's because that's what John Griffin wants.
It just makes no sense because when you feel the overwhelming need to go on Reddit to tell us more about that story, that means that there is a need and a desire to tell us more. So tell us with the budget, tell us on screen, tell us with your work. You know what I mean? It is just
Yeah,
such a strange concept for the creator to go on a website like Reddit to explain themselves. It's
if
just,
it's not in the
it's
show.
not exactly this Eloise thing. I never was a big fan of the Eloise theory, but to call it a conspiracy theory,
Yeah.
I mean, come on, and come
Mhm.
on. But we could go on forever. I do see a super chat that has the right
Yes.
idea here.
Oh, okay. All
There's
right. Yeah.
so many points and time of From that could be their a season and all on their own.
A season in and of themselves, right? 100% agree, and I 100% agree with Adrian here as well for 10. And thank you so much for the 10, Adrian. Definitely agree with this as well. I really want to see the first cycle of From. That could be a season on its own. Honestly, that could be a season on its own, or depending on what we get on this main show, that could be a whole spin-off in and of
Hmm.
itself, even at that rate as well. A spin-off of the original cycle, the original kind of parents. And I think that's one thing that I do wonder heading into this final season. How much are we going to get of that? How much are we going to
Yeah.
see of the original Jade, the original Tabitha, the original parents, them making this deal, when they were still human? That's again, I understand why a lot of people have very big worries heading into season 5, knowing it's the final season and wondering, are they going to be able to tell all of this stuff? And I guess that's going to be interesting to do. I always wonder heading into a final season like this, how much is planned, like deliberately planned to be left out just for the purpose of future spin-off shows. Because I think Game of Thrones tried doing this as well. Like you look at the end of Game of Thrones, and
Hmm.
like the way they ended Jon Snow's storyline, like in particular Arya's storyline in particular, like they ended a lot of storylines a little bit ambiguous and very much open ended for future spin-off shows, almost like they were depending on getting future spin-offs. And I always wonder how From's going to approach their final season. Are they going to do everything they can to tell the full story in this show, or are they going to deliberately leave some things out in hopes of getting a spin-off show of it? That's one thing I always
Hmm.
wonder heading into the final season of a show. Every show plays it differently, usually depending on popularity. It's usually only the really, really popular shows that will leave things open like that have a better chance of getting spin-offs like a Game of Thrones. But I always envisioned From being a complete story, start, middle, and
Hmm.
end in and of itself. And I really hope it's going to be.
Well, I have a better one for you. This is why I'm saying that the concept of From is brilliant. I really enjoyed this concept of
Yeah.
cycles.
Uh-huh.
When you started off with the concept that already has cycles that you are not showing, you're
Yeah.
talking about, you're hinting at, but you're not necessarily showing it, then you're set. You don't even
You're
have to
setting up
leave
a
things out of
rich
your
history.
story
Yeah.
because we're already being told there's a billion things you have never seen.
Yeah.
So there you have a billion spin-offs. And this is in the style of, I'll tell you what show. One of my favorite concepts, American Horror Story. It's the
Yeah,
same
yeah,
sort of cycles
yeah.
and spin-off.
Yep.
The House, American Horror Story, The House, where it is different people occupying the same space and their
Hmm.
particular story and their particular way of approaching that house. And the same with From, because at cycles we would have different people approaching this place in their own way with their own knowledge. We know
Different
that
Jades,
Tabby and Jade have reincarnated and they have been something different, right?
different
They
versions of them. Yep.
so exactly, you could do this is an American Horror Story style of concept with the people that are occupying the space of From, which we know is there, has been there for centuries
Mm,
apparently,
yeah.
are approaching it in their own way. And you could have cool monsters depending on the time period,
Other
different
monsters, other
wardrobe.
creatures in there. Like we've
I
been
mean,
hearing that
it
the
would be
monsters
like
are
a
only the
time
tip of the
period.
spear. Yeah.
You could watch From Victorian era, from the Civil War era. You could watch From in
Yeah.
different areas with different wardrobe, and I would watch a billion,
Oh my God.
cycles of that.
Oh yeah.
From the 80s, 1980s, from
Think
Victorian
it
era, from
from Vice City.
exactly, from the 2000s. So I would watch a billion just remakes of who are they, what type of knowledge do they come from? Because guess what? You don't just have to count on the character of Tabitha and Jade, they're going to be a constant, but you get to create different characters. Like from the 80s, you could have a jazzercise person get stuck in From. You could
Yeah.
have different people from the time era get stuck there and their way of approaching the situation. That would be really cool. And I would watch a billion of those. So you get to play with different characters that would be the supporting actors to your Tabitha and your Jade. And the clothes, as soon as they showed us that there's 1980s clothes, immediately I thought I would have loved to have
Mm,
seen the supporting characters that came in the 1980s. What were they
yeah.
wearing? What was their background? What was the drama, the inner drama with them, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What was yeah, what was the inner workings of the 80s Fromville residents like? Or I mean, even like you
Was
said,
there
even
story walkers? They
was
failed,
there
right? They
story
don't have to
walkers?
have be
Was there
successful, but
this?
with their
Was
story
there
walkers
that?
that failed and
Yeah.
people in the tree, was there other Dales that found the tree and threw themselves? And where did they end up? Right? I mean, you have a
Were there other
brilliant
Sarahs,
setup.
other Sarahs that could
Yep.
communicate with things like how much of this stuff has happened before? Or were there other abilities? Were there people with completely different abilities altogether?
Mm-hmm.
Again, there is so much that you could do with it. I would love to see like
Yep.
a very like obscure cycle. That would be fun. But yeah, I mean, the show is set up in the way where it seems like it has a very long and rich history to draw off if it ever did want to kind of dive into the past for sure. But yeah, in terms of the first cycle of From being a season on its own, as Adrian said for in the super chat, and again, thank you so much for the 10. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it could. Especially again, I have to imagine. I don't know how much we're gonna get from like the origins, like the original settlers of From the original parents. I have to imagine we'll probably at least get a flashback or two. Like showing us the original Jades, showing us the original Tabitha. Showing the parents probably making the bargain with whoever they made it with. If it was the man in yellow, most likely, presumably, as many think it was, or
Mm-hmm.
something else. I have to imagine we'll probably see some of that stuff, but I don't think they'll have time to go like super deep into the original kind of timeline. Um, Not without you know, you got to tell the rest of the story. And they still have so many characters, storylines to wrap up on top of the mysteries they kind of still need to answer. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what they're going to have to pick and choose some things that they're just not going to be able to flesh out maybe as well as they could have if they did have more seasons.
Mm-hmm.
So it will be interesting to see what the final version of it is going to look like, and are they going to kind of maneuver the final season in a sense where it does
Yeah.
leave room for a spin-off.
I mean, a billion spin-offs. Now that we're talking about it, I just really wish that we would have something like this, an American Horror Story, a From franchise in the style of American Horror Story, because I'm remembering the wagon wheels in Cannibal Village. We know that people
Yeah.
were there and they were coming in on wagon, not on
Yep.
a vehicle. So it would be super cool to see people like in a wagon and they get stuck in From. They were
Yep.
like driving somewhere else in their little wagon
In
with
like the
their
Civil War
horses.
days, 1800s, mid
Exactly.
1800s, or something like that. Absolutely.
Exactly. Maybe running through the field, right? Because you have the soldier and he has his rifle. He could
Yeah.
have been in
He
active
could have been in the
battle,
middle of a
running
battle when
through
he
a
got pulled in.
field, and then
Yeah.
next thing you know, he's in the woods of From,
Yep. In the middle of a battle
right?
when he
I
gets
mean,
pulled into
such a
From.
cool concept.
It
Such a
is.
cool
It is.
concept.
Because you have to
And
imagine that, there weren't always, roads that people drove cars on. So back during, before there were paved roads and cars, motorized cars, how else were they pulling people here in Fromville? We know they were for centuries, long
a
before there were cars and
helicopter.
roads.
I would have liked to
Um,
see like a helicopter,
the
maybe a
train tracks would
battle,
have been nice, like to
a
see, like, because we
train,
see
an
we see the
entire
train tracks
train.
in Fromville, like, because that was one thing we all saw in season one, and we were like, oh shit, like the
Oh,
train tracks just stood out to a lot of people. Um,
yep.
and I think a lot of us were wondering, will we ever see a train pull up in Fromville?
That's how I would have started the Victorian era. I would have made it like the beginning of the train tracks and have like an old timey train pull up into From, and
There you
it would have
go.
started like from the Victorian era. I mean,
There you
come on,
go.
if they're not gonna do it, then we are all going to crowdfund and we will write this. You and
Yeah.
me, Jeremy,
No,
will
I
write
mean,
this thing.
we'll write it. You, me, in the chat. We'll write the shit out of it together. Absolutely. Because again, yeah, there has to
Yes.
be a time when there just wasn't roads. Again, there wasn't paved roads. There wasn't cars to drive. There was only horses and people walking on foot.
Mm-hmm.
So how are you going to pull people in? I guess that's one of my questions. What was the method for pulling people into From back before there were cars? Was it still like a tree in the road, fucking in front of like a wagon, and the wagon had to like turn around? Like, I wonder what the mechanism was for pulling people into From before there were cars and roads.
I mean, right? The sky's the limit when it comes to ideas here. But Anna, I like this because
In hotel
this goes
season.
with American Horror Story. It would be From hotel, and then it would be all about how the hotel got pulled into From, and everybody that was occupying the hotel at the time that got pulled in there. It could be anything, right? Because they haven't given us concrete info. All they said is the children, they cry out for Jade
Mhm.
and Tabitha, and other people happen to hear them. And that's it. So that means that you could do anything. If you wanted to, you could pull in an entire hotel. And it could just happen to be a very creepy hotel, like hotels that
Like
are
American
known
Horror.
for having, exactly, known for having horrible things happen. Like maybe they just get pulled in, right? Because everybody is at a crossroads. And usually if you're at a hotel, you're at a crossroads. You're going from one place to another, right? There's something happening in your life. So, I mean, you guys are making me excited just to think, but it's not worth it because if it doesn't happen, I'm going to be brokenhearted.
Yeah, I mean, there's loads of potential in terms of spin-off possibilities when it comes to a show like From. And again, I have to imagine there's going to be just some things they're not going to be able to flesh out as well as they could have if they had more episodes or more seasons. There's going to be some stuff, plenty to mine for plenty of spin-offs if they wanted to do that. I guess we'll see. Because again, I mean, I feel like so much of the From that we know is predicated on it being in the modern day world. Like it's so much of what is happening in From and the fabric of From is based in modern day times. So that's the thing that I'm probably the most intrigued of. What did Fromville look like centuries ago? When it was pulling people in here before technology, before cars, before roads, before you could just knock a tree down on the
Mm-hmm.
side of the road and get someone to turn around. What exactly was the mechanism? How exactly were they pulling people into this place? Because again, the whole fabric of From, the car, everybody sees the tree and the road. Like, it's such a big part of From,
Mhm.
the tree and the road and the car. So I just it's I kind of wonder what was like before then, because we know Fromville
I
was
mean, I would
around
just make
long
it the
before
same
cars.
thing, the same
That's what I'm
concept.
saying. Did a tree
You
fall in the
are
road and it's like you're on
walking,
a horse or a buggy and you had to kind of turn around and boom, you
or
see the
you're
tree, but
walking
you're
through the
stuck.
forest, the next thing you
Walking through the
know, there's
forest,
fallen
you see a
tree.
tree.
You're like,
Yeah, maybe.
next thing you know,
It
you
could
can't
be.
get out. This
Next thing
sort
you know,
of
you're stuck.
yes, so there's
The
stories.
fallen tree could be like the signature that is constant throughout. It might be a different setting, like here it might be a road because
Hmm.
we're in modern times, but like you said, back then it could maybe just the fallen tree was always the benchmark for pulling people into From. And yeah, maybe it was just in the middle of the woods back then.
Yeah. Yeah, and in the real world, there are stories of people going into parallel universes or slipping into another timeline, just walking around. You could just be in a place. There's a famous one of Versailles where there was a couple of people visiting Versailles in France, walking around, and all of a sudden, everything started to look more weathered. Everything started to look more realistic, and they slipped into that time frame for a while. The only difference with From is like once you slip into it, you're not getting out. You go missing, which is the really interesting part of it. It is an explanation for all of these missing people, like
Mm,
missing 411 when you're in the woods, visiting the woods, visiting like a national park, and
yeah.
you go missing out of the blue. That's a good idea to bring people into From. You went
Yeah.
to visit, the national park, you went missing. Why? You got pulled into this other dimension where From
Mm,
exists. So there's just so much that they could do with that. And I think about the monsters and everything that they're wearing. You pull in a bride and a groom. A bride and a groom just got married. They're traveling, right? And their
yeah.
limousine. And next thing you know, you're in From.
Boom. Yeah, you're on your honeymoon, you're thinking you're heading to your destination, and boom, next thing you know, you're fucking stuck here. Yeah, there's so many things they could do with it. Just the mechanism in which they've set the show up in terms of how people get pulled in here and how people can get pulled in here from seemingly anywhere on the map, at least within the states. They've really set up an interesting mechanism to do so many possibilities for spin-offs, other time periods with how old this place is. There's a lot. There's a lot. Yeah, we're having an Ankui session, indeed.
Oh, yeah.
This is an Ankui session. We're talking season 5. We're talking spin-off potential. Where is From going to go? How much are they going to be able to answer in season 5? What are we going to get?
Hey, Jeremy, don't knock it. This could be our opportunity. There's been a
Yeah.
lot of things that have been started by people who are just fans. You start the concept, next thing you know, we're working for MGM. So we're
Next
gonna,
thing,
you know what we should do? We should make trailers of like From Victorian era, From Hotel, From 1980s, different little trailers for
yeah.
what the show would look like, and that could be our calling card. You never know. This is how they got the back rooms was just an
Yep.
idea of
Yep.
people saying, what would be interesting would be XYZ, and the backrooms got
Mhm.
its own movie. So
Yeah. Look what that
we
turned
have a
into.
lot to work with here.
We
I would
do.
work in the missing 411, the missing people in the woods. I definitely, that is screaming to be worked into a From model because it is
Mm,
national parks. It's already that sort of area. People are going
yeah.
missing
Yeah.
out of the blue, right? So there's so much of history that you could work in. You could
Mhm.
even pull historical figures into From.
The possibilities are endless.
Emilia Earhart. Emilia
There
Earhart
you
could have
go. That's
ended
where
up
you
up in
explain that.
From.
Explain where she fucking disappeared to. Yeah, she flew her ass right into fucking From.
Yeah, that's what I would do. Like, where
Hey,
is Amelia? There she
all
is.
all of those people that disappear in the Bermuda Triangle. You explain some of that. You got boats showing up. The
Mm-hmm.
possibilities are endless. That's for sure.
Oh yeah.
That's for sure. Does a boy always survive? And did Victor know his Victor from his season? Now, PM and I were actually talking about this at one point, and I thought, the Victor being up on the roof. Remember how we were discussing how Victor was talking about someone being up on the roof and jumping off the roof, and how you thought that that could have been the
Mm-hmm.
previous Victor. And I thought that was very interesting. It almost seems like Victor is up here, like remembering what his previous self did. So I do think that there was like a Victor type character in every cycle. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that the one that jumped off the roof that we hear Victor talk about in season 4 was that Victor. That was the that was the old Victor at the time. Victor was the young
Mm-hmm.
Victor, I think.
Well, I mean, that is a great clue. But I'll tell you what is more, even more convincing to me,
Mm,
that there is a pattern with Victor. Now,
yeah.
this does not mean that he is reincarnating. He is
No,
not.
no, not a
What this
reincarnation.
means is that there is a pattern and different people
Yeah,
use or fit that role. These are not
yeah.
the same people, it's different people. Like Ethan is
Similar
different from Victor,
archetypes. That's it. Yeah.
but that role must be fulfilled by someone, by a boy. And that's the boy in white. I believe that the original boy that was left behind, the original child that was left behind to be eternally there and from, that is the pattern that was set up. He tells
Yeah.
Victor, these are the things you must remember to survive. The fact that he's so specific with Victor about what he must survive, and the fact that he tells him it is the loneliness that is the hardest part. Then, when you think about the boy in white is always alone, the Ankui children are together, they always have each other. You see them in a group, but you never see the boy in white with them. He's always alone in the woods, walking around. He only interacts with people when he wants to direct them to go into the tree, or when he wants to welcome the next child, which in this case was Ethan. So when you see that he goes from Victor to Ethan, it's showing you a pattern. It's saying, me, I am introducing my role to the people that will occupy it. I did that for Victor. Victor's still around, but now there's the other boy. I'm doing it for this other boy. And the peaches stop for Victor. Why? I believe that all of this is telling him it's not you anymore, Victor. The next
The
person that
next
will
one's
fulfill
here.
this role has
Yeah.
arrived,
Yeah.
right? You cannot give somebody the instructions of how to survive this lifestyle unless you lived it yourself.
It just fits
So,
so well, like
mhm.
with everything that the boy in white stands for, like being this alone child stuck in this forest. He just very much feels like he was the blueprint, the first Victor. And again, not a reincarnation, just a similar archetype that follows like every cycle. So I've always loved that, and I 100% agree with you. It just feels like there was always a Victor type character in every cycle,
Yeah.
starting with the
And if
little
you
boy in
think
white.
about it, the type of entity, the entity in yellow, I don't call it Sophia or Men in Yellow because now we know those are costumes. They
Mhm,
are flesh and blood costumes that it uses. We
mhm.
don't know its real form. But this
Or
entity,
his
this
real
yellow
name. I have
entity,
to imagine it does have a real name.
yeah, from what we know is the yellow entity,
Yeah.
it seems to have a sense of humor when it doesn't just want to kill or consume. What it enjoys is the suffering and
Yes.
watching the prolonged suffering. So that is a perfect, motivation for them to kill everybody, but then leave one person, a person that is vulnerable, a person that is a child, because we already know that this entity preys upon children. I mean, the children were sacrificed to it. So to leave a child in order to observe and to consume its suffering. We know that this is what it likes. It loves the suffering. He says, this is my favorite part. I could do it, I could kill them, but I don't want to. I want to watch it. I want to watch as things unfold. And so that explains why he would go through these cycles and say, I need something to hold me over, and that will be the pain of the innocent. So a child left alone in the woods with all the monsters for his entertainment, just to see.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, could be. Leave everyone dead but one to tell the story over and over and over again. Could be. And again, it always seems like this Victor type character is the historian of From, usually the memory of From, writing down literally, drawing the literal memories of his cycle. The historian of the place in a sense. And maybe
Hmm.
that's why the Man in Yellow leaves this one character type alive every time. This is the one person that carries on the story in a sense.
And
Um,
now that we have season 4, there's a conversation that the entity in yellow has with the boy in white. This entity in yellow is laughing. The boy in white, if you watch that scene back, is very serious. He is
Super
not
serious. Yep.
lighthearted. He's
Yep.
not taking it as, yay, we're playing a game, like buddy
No,
buddy. He's
polar
very
opposite demeanor.
serious, very solemn, but still determined. And the entity in yellow is laughing and being lighthearted. And he says to him, I always admire your optimism, which
Yep.
means I have seen you. It's been centuries, and I like watching you.
Yeah.
I like watching that I know you're going to lose, but you keep
But you
hoping you won't.
try anyway. Yeah.
I like watching you try and failing. I like watching you tell yourself that you're going to make it. It's fun. And it's laughing, right? So it's already giving you the answer that for the entity in yellow, it's not about simply consuming. It is like this pain, this anguish, what you do to yourself, the suffering that you cause yourself when you hope that something is going to turn out differently. That's what it enjoys.
It's
That's
entertainment.
something
Yeah.
that and Boy and White has been providing that the longest for him. But
Hmm.
along with Boy and White, Victor provided that all that time that he was alone. Along with Victor, Ethan. If Ethan is left alone in there, he will be the one that he can watch. Because what are you gonna do after everybody's dead? You need somebody to watch, to
You wait for
entertain.
the next cycle to start arriving. And yeah, that starts with
Exactly.
Ethan.
Now
Starts with Ethan.
Boyd, this would fit perfectly because Boyd has a very iconic scene in the church where he looks up, feeling forsaken by God, and he says, are you entertained? Are you up there laughing? So he's already hinting at the idea that they are being observed and that their pain and their suffering is entertainment. And he says to this God that he feels forsaken by, why would you make me believe that I could save them? Why would you do that to me when I'm just a dumb, he calls himself a dumb motherfucker that keeps getting people killed.
Yep. Yeah.
So he's already hinting at the idea that you're set up for failure, but the enjoyment is in you believing that you could make it and then watching you fall, which is
Yeah.
diabolical.
Yeah. It is. It is. It's diabolical. And that's, one of his best scenes too. Such a good scene. Such a good Boyd scene. Every time he's in the fucking church, it's just, it's going to be gold. But no, yeah, again, I thought it definitely seems like, long story short, as Puffer was originally asking, it seems like yes, these Victor character types seem to repeat and seems to go all the way back to the original Boy in White being the original Victor type character. And as PM described, I think we got really good evidence of that in season 4 when Victor is kind of teaching Ethan how to survive on his own here. And he's teaching him everything that the Boy in White taught him, including all of these weird methods of building these creepy dolls and all this other shit. So yeah, it seems like the Boy in White was potentially left here on his own for a very long time as well. How else does he know all this shit? And he passes it on to Victor, and Victor passes it on to Ethan. But yeah, in terms of Victor knowing the previous one before him, I do think it was that guy that jumped off the roof in season 4 that Victor was talking about. I think that was most likely the previous quote unquote Victor. But we'll see. We shall see. Yeah, I mean, one of the most important questions of all: where are they getting the toilet paper from? This is very true. This is very true. Where are they getting toilet paper? I mean, we know that they're getting like magical electricity, running water coming from somewhere. But what about the essentials? Where are the real tough questions like that? Where are they getting the toilet paper from? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe that's in the woods too.
I don't know, but
Um,
that is below. That's below our level of conversation that we're having here. But I do see that the chat is talking fairies. The chat wants to
the
talk
fairy
fairies.
thing is becoming incredibly. I mean, it was very popular in season one, and I feel like the fairy talk or the fairy theories didn't die out, but they started to become not as like super popular during like seasons 2 and 3. And now since season 4 has come and gone, I have been seeing so many more fae theories, way more than usual. It almost feels like right after season 1 again. And yeah, I think there's some interesting validity to maybe some type of Fey origin being here. Is that what the man in yellow is? We still have no idea what this creature is, where he came from, but we know that he definitely seems to have some kind of, magical abilities in terms of being able to manipulate magic, manipulate forces around him, use ingredients and spells and incantations and stuff like this. This person has legit power that they can conjure up from the earth. So yeah, no, I think the faith theories have always been interesting. I think at this point we know what the monsters are. The monsters were human at one point and they were turned into this. But when I think of the Fae stuff nowadays, I think it could most likely, if there's anything Fae on the show, it would most likely have to do with the Man in Yellow and be what he potentially is. Because I feel like
Mhm.
at this point we pretty much already know what the monsters are.
They like to make bargains. That is one thing that the Fae are
Very
known
true.
for.
That's
They
true.
like to make bargains. You have seen circular shapes and from rocks that are set up in a circle, right? You have your traditional fairy circle. And fairies have a demeanor and a temperament all of their own. You can't categorize them as all bad or all good. They can be both, depending, right, on their function. So you could have them on both sides. You could have the fairies that want to help, the fairies from the lake of tears, and you could have the fairies that are not necessarily wanting to help, that are wanting to make a deal, that are wanting to make a bargain, and the bargain doesn't come through because somebody
Yeah.
stops it. We know that
Mm-hmm.
much, right? So
Mm-hmm.
when you bargain with a fairy and you don't come through, yeah, I imagine you probably would get a place like from. If you
You got to pay the
promise to
price.
sacrifice some kids and then you backed out of it, yeah, from
Yeah.
would be what you get when you mess with the fairy.
I could see something like that happening where, and again, it seems like Jade and Tabitha, the original Jade and Tabitha, tried to stop the sacrifice from happening. We know that it seems like they failed to at least save the children, but we don't know if they failed to stop the ritual. Like whatever they were trying to complete might have been sabotaged by Jade and Tabitha attempting to stop it in combination with the children maybe kind of hijacking it themselves and pouring all of their energy and hope into those roots above them. So there's just so much about that original deal, the original sacrifice that we just don't know. That's one thing we really need to see in season 5, in my opinion, anyway. I know they aren't going to show every single little thing in terms of the original settlers and the humans and all of the other cycles. There's tons. There's just way too much to get through and not enough time to get through it all. But that is one thing I really do, at the very least, hope we see in this final season. We need to see the original Ankui sacrifice and how it really went down, how it was presented to the parents, who they made the bargain with, if it really was the man in yellow, and if so, how did it all go down? Um, but I don't know. But I do agree with Xavier as well. Whatever this entity is has split personalities. Yeah, we were talking a little bit about that in terms of like, the man in yellow and Sophia, not so much always feeling like the same entity pretend using two different disguises, but actually kind of just feels like two totally different characters at times. And maybe that's by design, but it does kind of feel that way sometimes. But yeah, we got to find out a little
Mhm.
bit more. What is going on with the freaking man in yellow? What is he really? But the fake theories are interesting. They're very popular. I know that much.
Yeah. Um, just lurking has a great question here. Why is Tabitha a little girl in one of the cycles? I mean,
Yes.
I would imagine that that one ends pretty quickly. If you're bringing in Tabby, and we know from Tabitha herself, the people at the center of the talisman are her and Jade. The children must be saved
Yeah.
by her and Jade alone, even though other people are helping them get through there. Eventually, it has to be both of them. So, if you're pulling her as a child, I imagine that cycle ended pretty quickly. She did not survive. There was no way she was going to accomplish that. Um, I wonder why she got pulled in so early. I always imagined that she would get
Yeah.
pulled in at the perfect time when she had acquired enough knowledge that it would be successful. But
Hmm.
pulling her in as a little girl, like, there's no way that little girl's gonna save you. Like, she just physically wouldn't be able to take your bones. Physically, she can't do a lot of what you want her to do, like go to the tower to save the children. Look at getting the bones. They were under a slab, a huge rock, and Tabitha and Jade, as full grown adults, could barely lift it to get the bones. Now we know that they're kind of essential, right? Boy and White says they have the bones. That's a big one.
Yeah, the young Cabby that we see on the show is definitely something that it's not super definitive in terms of like what is it. Part of me wonders like, yeah, was that a Tabitha? Was that a reincarnation, one of her many reincarnations that got pulled in early, as you say, pulled in the parents and her at the same time, maybe? That's a possibility. Or is that the original Tabitha when she was a little girl? The first one, I guess, is another interesting question because there's just so much about that time period we don't know about Fromville itself and when it was created that we don't know about how long the parents were inside this place that is Fromville. Like, there's just so much we don't know still. But yeah, no, that is a really good question. Just lurking. What's up with the young Tabitha? Was there really just a super fucking young one that got pulled in here, or was that the original young Tabitha? I don't know. Don't know. Definitely needs to be explained. Definitely needs to be explained. I personally wouldn't be thrilled to learn I was reincarnated from the puppet guy. Oof. I mean, the Christopher being one of the reincarnations. I mean, yeah, maybe not the best reincarnation. I mean, I guess it's pretty interesting when you see when now that we know about Jade and having all of these different reincarnations, it kind of almost makes you think of Doctor Who or anybody who has seen Doctor Who. You might know what I'm talking about. Whereas you have the Doctor regenerating, every few seasons into this completely different actor, different character, different personality, different everything, but it's always the same person. Like it's always the Doctor, but it's a reincarnated version of the Doctor, a regenerated version of the Doctor, as it's called on, the on Doctor Who. And that's almost kind of what we're seeing a little bit here with Jade, with the exception of, it takes a little while, it seems, for each of these Jades to remember the lives of the past Jades, whereas the Doctor just remembers everything in one concurrent kind of timeline. Like he remembers all of his past lives as he goes into the next one. Like there's no memory loss there. But yeah, I don't know. With Jade, he's got so many different iterations. Has had so many different iterations over the centuries that yeah, every once in a while you're gonna get a fugly one. You're gonna get a fugly one every once in a while, and maybe Christopher was the fugly one. Happens. Happens to the best of us. Happens to the best of
Hmm.
us.
You know what I'm thinking of? Because I see one of the main questions has been Fatima, right?
Yeah.
And talking about time and how time can be, once you step away from a linear timeline and you go into going back, forward, sideways into time and creating paradoxes. I'm thinking that Fatima could have been always the kimono lady. How? I'm thinking if
Mhm.
Fatima goes into this transformation where she becomes somewhat monster, somewhat human, which is what the kimono lady looks like.
Kind
She
of looks
looks like
like.
she's
Okay.
somewhat
Yeah.
human, somewhat monster, and she's wet. Fatima
She's like.
loved being in the brundles. She loved getting wet,
Uh-huh.
being in
Mm.
the brundles. If
Mm-hmm.
she was coming to a point where she was believing that she was going to become full monster, I could see her choosing to like go into the brundles and take her life so that she wouldn't fully become monster. But we know that in From you can escape. You could kill yourself, but you're never going to get out of there, right? And so she becomes this kimono lady. That's why when kimono lady first sees Elgin, what does she do? She chokes him.
Mm-hmm.
It was Fatima. If you think about it, and we're working with time
Yeah.
in a way where she always became kimono lady, when she sees Elgin, who is to blame for everything, at the end of the day, he is where the story began to fail for her. Before he got there, she was happy and everything was going well. It would explain why, as soon as she saw Elgin, she tried to take his life. She
Fucking
tried
drown
to
his ass.
drown him to prevent everything that was going to happen. She tried to
Mm-hmm.
drown him and she was
Yeah.
asking him for help, but maybe she's trying to stop what ultimately happened to her by saying, "Help me. I need you to do XYZ," right? And she stops talking. There's a serious point in time where she stops talking and just shows photographs. The photographs could have been misinterpreted. Maybe she was saying, "Watch out for this, watch out for that, don't do this, don't do that." And he interpreted differently, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that could explain the aggressive nature of the kimono lady towards Elgin. If you're
It could.
Fatima, you
Yeah.
turn full kimono, you see Elgin, you're going to want to drown him.
Drown his ass.
Oh, yeah.
Could be. I mean, it's definitely very much a possibility. Definitely very much a possibility. I mean, when the kimono creature first popped up, especially the season 2 version of the kimono creature, it did look a whole lot like Fatima. It looked just like Fatima's hair. And then in season 3, they completely recast the kimono creature to be played by an Asian actress. Like they deliberately went with that kind of Japanese geisha look. But yeah, I mean, could Fatima be becoming the next kimono creature? I don't know. I mean, maybe, or was she always the kimono creature? And if so, because when you look at the kimono creature, she does seem to be almost like she's part kind of monster, part human, but also part ghost, like apparition, because
Mm-hmm.
she's not like physical. She can kind of just pop up whenever she wants. She pops up, in Colony House whenever she wants. She pops up in the root cellar. Like she doesn't like have to walk to places. She can kind of just appear. So there's just so much about that character that we don't know, and I do wonder, will we ever even see the kimono creature again? I don't know. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if the whole Fatima theory ends up being true, then yes, I mean, we will definitely find out what one way or another. But I don't know. I don't know if
That's
we're
the
ever
thing
even
that
going to see.
never, yeah, the thing that never made sense is if Kimono Lady wanted Elgin to help, why was she trying to drown him?
Yeah.
And it would make sense if Kimono Lady is Fatima and what she was trying to do is prevent everything that would happen from happening by
Well,
trying to drown him.
I think it could. I mean, it definitely would explain it if nothing else. I think the only other thing that could potentially explain it is that the kimono creature knew it was going to need Elgin, and I mean, when the kimono creature showed up and pushed Elgin under the water, it was right after the music box popped up to Elgin and started playing to Elgin. Usually, when the music box pops up, maybe the kimono creature, was warding off the music box entity at the time and trying to save Elgin by waking him up. That's the only other explanation I could think of, because the kimono creature knew that she was going to need Elgin and didn't want this music box entity to fuck with him, maybe. Because
Yeah.
it was
I
very
mean, if
weird
I
how
was
the
Elgin, I would have been like, Biatch, you couldn't think of any other way to wake me
you
other
can't
than
wake me up any other
screaming
fucking way and
and
drown
drowning
my
me.
ass.
Not only did she drown him, but then she's like, "Ah," She did that
Yeah,
screaming,
she got a
remember?
weird scream, this weird banshee wail that she's fucking
Yeah,
screaming at
it's
him.
like
Yeah,
you could have tapped me on
you
my
could have just
shoulder.
woken
You
me
could
up.
have,
Yeah,
yeah, you didn't need to do all that.
you didn't need to do all this craziness. Like, this is way overboard. This is way too extra. But yeah, I think there's a lot of questions about Fatima heading into the final season. You know, what's going to be going on with her? Is she going to be able to hold on to any semblance of humanity? Or is she slowly going to become like full on monster to the point where she's out there fucking smiling with the rest of them? That, I guess, is the question. I don't know. We shall see. But looks like we have another 4.99 from Katrina Marie. Thank you so much, Katrina. Very, very much appreciate you. And the way Jade was so scared by Roger's body made it seem like they set up Jade to be the man who was afraid of dolls in that cycle. I mean, it may be. Maybe again, Jade was very. We saw how afraid he was every time he saw any kind of doll. You know, we saw the doll down in the caves. He had the vision of the doll screaming at him, and he kind of screams right back. He has the vision of Christopher holding the doll on the roof and kind of scares Jade with it. Jade almost falls off the roof. Maybe. I mean, maybe it was a deliberate kind of plan to, you know, an attempt to throw Jade off of certain clues in this cycle. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, if the man in yellow can rig the game in any potential way in his favor, I have to imagine he's probably going to do that, whatever rig that is. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Boy in White gives people information at very specific moments, but he doesn't tell them everything he is really playing the game. Well, I mean, that's the thing with the Boy in White. You know, he's not you know he's not he's not a super great helper. Yes, he's very cryptic. He's very light in his information that he gives out. He'll let you know when you're asking the wrong question, but he won't tell you what the right question is. And that's the pretty much the Boy in White wrapped in a nutshell. He'll tell you you're not in the right in the right area, but he won't point you in the right area. And I don't know. Again, we get a bit of an explanation for it. Yeah, eventually, we did, at least in terms of him saying that he did help. You know, he tried to help Christopher in this previous cycle. Told Christopher exactly what to do, where to do, and how to do it. And Christopher rejected it. Just said, you know, everybody lies in this place. And now we hear the Boy in White kind of approaching this next cycle a little bit more hands off, in the sense of you people need to see this for yourselves. You got to figure this out for yourselves, or you're never going to get it. And maybe that's something that the Boy in White finally learned after all of these failed cycles. Maybe the Boy in White was super heavily involved in all of the previous cycles. And maybe now he's only just realizing that he needed to take a step back, that he needed to kind of let them figure out this stuff on their own. Maybe he's only just now trying this new approach, and maybe that's why it's having so much success where all the previous cycles didn't, because the Boy in White is doing something different this time. So again, there's just so much there that we don't know, but we do know that the Boy in White tried to very much help during the previous cycle. He's not doing that this cycle, and so far the difference between these two cycles is this one is doing way fucking better than any previous one, and maybe that factors
Hmm.
in as to why.
Well, I do not believe that he is playing. I believe he's a helper, a
Just
potential
a help.
helper. This is what I think. I think that the game is being played between Jade and Tabitha, who are given the opportunity to come back and to save the children, right? Because they have the task, save the children. Jade and
Yeah,
Tabitha, they're the
yeah.
ones that were originals. They reincarnate, so they're the constant. And the entity in yellow. The entity in yellow takes different forms, wears different costumes, but he's a constant. The
Yeah,
boy in white and the children, they're hanging around, but they seem more like helpers. Like the
just
game is not
helpers. Yeah.
being played between me and the entity in yellow as far as boy in white is concerned. It's like
Hmm.
the game is being played between Jade and Tabitha and this entity in yellow. They are the two constants that are always, they're trying to save the children, he's trying to stop them from saving the children. They're going rounds and rounds, and all he can do is appear to certain people, help in certain ways, and hang around there and just try to direct them to the right place, like in a video game where you have that character that pops up, and if you're lucky it'll tell you where to go and where you could find certain things, but it's
Mhm.
not there to solve it for you. Now,
And it seems
the
like
reason
that's a
why
choice for this cycle in particular, because it seems like
mm,
he was like deliberately telling Christopher exactly what he needed to do in the previous cycle. And it
yeah,
seems like that just didn't work. For whatever reason, Christopher didn't believe him. Now he's kind of just letting them figure it out on their own, where yeah, he'll give them a small hint here and there, but it seems like he's taking a conscious choice to take a step back during this cycle than he did in the Christopher cycle. And maybe that's why we're seeing a difference in
yeah.
results.
Well, I respectfully disagree. I
That's fine.
I think from context clues of season 4, where Victor is asked if this boy in white has all of this information, and if we are going to do something that is major, right? That's going to cause him to lose this game. Why doesn't he walk in here and tell me? Why doesn't he
Well,
show
I feel like
himself?
we got that explanation. He told
And
us.
Victor says it doesn't work that way. Like it doesn't work, meaning there is a system that wouldn't allow the boy in white to
I don't
do
think
it.
that's well, I think we got that answer directly from the boy in white. The boy in white straight up says, I already tried to help with Christopher. This time you guys have
Exactly.
to
So,
figure it
but
out on your
Christopher
own.
is not Boyd. Christopher is a
No.
reincarnation of Jade, so he's one of the
Yeah.
main people, like
But
Tabitha,
that's the
that
thing.
the
It
boy in
seems like
white
for
can
boy in
talk to,
white,
but he can't
but
talk to the others,
no, no,
like
but
Boyd.
but no, the point is that in terms of how much the boy in white was helping, he was helping a lot in the previous cycle. He was talking to Christopher, actively telling him exactly what to do. He's not doing that to Jade or Tabitha this cycle. That seems like that's a conscious choice not to help this cycle as much as he helped the previous cycle because he feels this would be a better
Hmm.
result. And it looks like he was right. This
Well,
cycle's doing way better.
that's where I'm saying, like, I respectfully disagree because he told Christopher as much as he told Tabitha. He shows up to Tabitha and he like um tells Victor what he's going to tell Miranda. So he gets the whole story of From. The answers to the end are at the beginning. We get from him telling the entire thing to somebody that would find out, like Tabitha. So she ends up with this knowledge. She ends up
I don't
knowing
think
these
so. I
things.
think we get
What I'm talking about is those are reincarnations, right? So I think
yeah,
when he says it doesn't work that way, I think that he can talk to certain people. Like he could talk to Ethan and Victor because they're the
yeah.
children, Jade and Tabitha if he wanted to. But Boyd,
But he's
people
not, and
like
that's the point.
Boyd that are
That's the point.
creating chaos, right? He keeps telling Victor, don't
Yeah.
chop the tree, don't move the tree. But that, if you're playing, that is not, if you're going to say anything, say it to Boyd. If you're going to say
Well, he
anything,
can't. I
don't
mean,
say
maybe
it to
it looks like
Victor.
Boyd might not even be
When
able
he
to see
says
it.
it doesn't work that way, it's almost like saying his function. He's not actually able to play like the entity in yellow. He's not playing the game. He can only appear to certain people.
No,
He can't
I
just
don't think he
tell a
can.
Boyd
He
all
can.
the
No, he
info.
can definitely only appear to certain people, but he can choose to help more than he's helping, and that's the point. And he says that much. Like that came straight from his mouth. That's not me saying this. The boy in white straight up says that I tried that once already. Like when Victor tells him, "Tell me what to do. Just tell me how to save them. Tell me what to do." The boy in white's exact words were, "I tried that already with Christopher. You guys need to figure it out yourself this
But that's
time."
what I'm saying. So what we're saying
I'm
is
just saying
if
that's a
he's
conscious
playing,
choice. That's a conscious choice of the boy in white not telling this cycle what he told the previous cycle. Is all.
what I'm saying is that
Only
he's not
difference.
playing, right? Because if that is your
No, he never
team,
was playing. He never was
he's
playing to
not playing.
begin with.
He
But he
the
had
game
different
is
degrees of
not.
helping. He had different degrees of helping though. And he admits that. I tried this in the previous cycle with Christopher. Now you guys have to do this on your own. It's the only way you're gonna figure it out. That's a conscious choice that he's making to help this cycle a little bit less than he helped the previous one, is all I'm saying.
Well, the thing is that in season 4, he says that is not the right question, right? When he's talking to
Yeah.
Tabitha, that is not the
Yeah.
right question. So there is no way of knowing if the information given to Christopher was volunteered or if Christopher was asking the right question and he was answering it.
It seems like he will. I mean, from just if we're going off what the boy in white said, it seems like I tried that with Christopher, meaning I told Christopher everything. I told Christopher exactly what to do, and he rejected me. He thought I was lying. And now the boy in white is taking a different approach, a more hands-off approach with this newer cycle.
I just don't know because that conversation was muffled and he says, "You're not
No, I
asking
know,
the
but
right
we can only
question."
kind of
So I'm
go off what
wondering,
we've been given, you know?
yeah, I'm wondering if Christopher, he had a notebook full of notes and he had the picture of Victor. I'm wondering
Yeah.
if he asked them the right question and he was given the answers, but the answers were not satisfying him in a way where he believed them. He did not believe the answer that he was being given. So I would have liked, and this is where I'm saying we could have used more time. That conversation did not need to be muffled if what he was saying is what Victor is telling us. If it was the conversation was what they told us in the series, they should have shown that conversation between Christopher and the boy in white and not us hearing it from somebody who wasn't there
Yeah.
or participating 100%.
Hmm.
Why did they muffle
And
it
maybe
if
we'll
that
get
was what he
more.
said?
Yeah, and maybe we'll get more clarification for that in season 5 as to why the boy in white is making these choices. You know, why he's choosing to do things differently this cycle to the previous one. Why he chose to talk to Christopher directly and why he hasn't seemed to even attempt to talk to Jade directly once during this cycle. Like there's differences there. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of differences that are we're seeing from him, I think. And I think he just thought maybe a hands-off approach was maybe just a little better. Like maybe I was trying to help too much, and I was trying to get involved too much in the Christopher cycle at least. And this time, I'm gonna let these people figure it out on their own. And I think maybe that could have played a small part in why they're doing a little bit better. Maybe the boy in white wasn't meant to help out as much. But
I
I don't
mean,
know.
it's just a wild choice. It just does not make sense. And I hope that they resolve it in the next season, that they give
Yeah.
us the rules, that they tell us there was something preventing him from helping, because it is
Why
the
did
most
Christopher?
wild choice
Mm,
to see they're getting close. He says, I think they're going to win this one. They have the bones. So you're
yes.
getting that close. This is the closest you've ever been. And it is a
Yeah.
wild choice for you not to show up to the people and tell
Why
them,
are
don't
you
cut the
not
tree.
helping more?
That
Exactly. Why?
makes no
If you
sense.
were, if you
That's
were
a if you
ever
were supposedly able to, and you're like, I
exactly,
told Christopher he didn't react well. Well, they passed that. They're
Christopher
past
didn't
the
get this
information.
far. Exactly.
They didn't
Exactly.
get to the bones.
Seeing
So
that
now they're believing that.
100%.
So why wouldn't you go
Why
up to
not?
Boyd?
Yeah.
It makes no
That's
sense. Or
something that
Jade.
needs to be explained
If you went up to Christopher and told them, that means you could go up to Jade and say, hey, the
and
bones
say, hey,
idea,
this is
great.
exactly what you need to
Just
do.
don't do it with the tree, dude. Do
Or
not mess
Tabitha,
with the
even
tree.
Tabitha. We know
Exactly.
he's interacted with Tabitha multiple times. He could have said to Tabitha exactly whatever he told Christopher, he could have told that to Tabitha too. And it would have just, maybe it would have made things a little bit easier. But yeah, I think that's a very valid question. Now that the boy in white has seen with his own two eyes that this cycle is
They
getting
passed that.
closer than any other
Yeah.
cycle, why are you not helping? Why are you not getting involved? That is something that they do need to explain.
It makes no
100%.
sense. And that is what I'm hung up on. There has to be, hopefully, they would give us rules and regulations and they would explain why he didn't help them when he's seen they came up with the bone egg. Even the man in yellow was impressed. He even had
Mhm.
to show up. He was so impressed with them that he wrote a note to Tabitha and said, hey, girl, meet me in the woods just to kiss her hand and say, I'm impressed. You've never come up
Mhm.
with this idea. So that means
And
that even the man in yellow was impressed by how
yes,
they
yes,
were approaching the game. So if he's impressed, the entity that's fighting against you, you would
is
believe
done.
that the one that is fighting with you should be also
Should
equally
also be like,
impressed.
holy shit, like
I want to talk to you.
these guys are actually doing what nobody else could freaking do. Let's make
Yeah.
sure this is the cycle that actually breaks it. And
Yeah.
I think this, I mean, this could be an interesting possible explanation as to why. Series Queries brings up maybe Christopher was killed by the town, probably partially because of what the boy in white told him. And that's an interesting possibility. If the boy in white gave him this secret kind of knowledge and he shared it with the town, could that have influenced the town in turning against him? Maybe,
Hmm.
maybe. I think it's possible for sure, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I just question. He left the note. The man in yellow didn't really hurt Tabitha. All he did, he
Mm.
wanted an audience with her. He wanted to tell her, I'm impressed, kiss the hand, to say
Yeah.
this might be our goodbye. Because
You're
if you
doing
pull this
things
off,
that
this
you've
might be
never done
goodbye.
before. Yeah.
And he's fighting against you. So how does the dude that's fighting with you not say, hey, this might also be, he was kissing her a
Because he's
goodbye,
the worst
saying
fucking helper. Literally the worst helper I've ever seen on a TV show. Like the worst one ever. Fucking boy in white, man.
he's
Ugh,
the worst helper.
he is the fucking worst.
Can't help from a bush.
And
Can't help from
and
a bush.
I mean, shit. I think this is why we like the boy in blue so much. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
Mini Jade, young Jade, the boy in blue popped up, and it's like he was a version of the boy in white that was like actually giving us real fucking answers, and it was like refreshing. It almost felt weird having like this boy in white like entity, only in a blue kid in a blue shirt instead of a white shirt, but actually like giving Jade definitive, real, solid historical answers about his past, about what his future is going to be, like real stuff, giving us as the audience real answers that all of these visions were his previous reincarnations. It just felt so weird. It's like you got this little boy in blue giving us all of these answers that the boy in white doesn't give us. So yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. Boy in white needs to step his fucking game up. Yeah, Christopher Cycle, they were just like, dude, honestly, we're mostly killing you because of the weird puppet thing.
I mean, I could see it. I definitely could see it. It's
I
like
can see it,
you're
yeah.
talking about child sacrifice, save the children, but you have a puppet and like you used to perform. Victor says, oh, he used to be funny. He used to make us laugh. So you were hanging around the kids a lot. You're strange. We think that you are a problem and potentially dangerous. I could see it. It's just not
Yeah.
a good look. I don't think it's ever been a good look to carry a puppet around with you and
No, my God, especially a ventriloquist doll puppet.
mm-mm.
I don't know. I don't know. I guess it's a skill. I guess it's an acquired taste, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
An acquired taste. Well, we shall find out. But again, and this was another thing that, you know, as Wicked Psych brings up, why does everyone assume the boy in white is the good guy just because he's presented that way so far? And again, you know, at times, yeah, sometimes you kind of have to just go with what the show is giving you until otherwise. But yeah, up until now, the boy in white has been presented as a sort of helper to the cycle. But again, we don't really know. We don't know anything really about him, who he really is, where he really came from, his true origins, and what he really wants. But again, you can only really go with the circumstantial evidence, I guess, the show has given us up until this point. And just in my estimation, it seems like they've given us enough circumstantial evidence that points to him wanting these cycles to end at least, as opposed to where the man in yellow seemingly very much wants them to keep going. So I feel like, again, while you can't nail anything down 100% until we really find out who the boy in white is definitively, I feel like they've given us surrounding evidence that points more in that direction, I guess.
I think it's gonna be shades of gray. They already have told us it's not gonna be good guy versus bad guy. It's more like
Mm,
victim of a horrible thing, like a child sacrifice, and
yeah.
the entity that made the bargain. Because if we think about the people that have nothing to do with this place, you're being called by who? Not by the entity in yellow. The
But
children are
children,
crying
yeah,
out.
another big
And
reveal.
so
Yeah.
you could blame them. You could, at the end of the day, go to the source and say they're the bad ones. Because if it wasn't for them, I would be home. So it really
Mhm.
depends from your point of view. The
Yeah.
children are the ones that are trapping you there. the children are not allowing you to go home because they're
Yeah,
waiting for you to save them. If they would just
exactly.
give up on the salvation and let you go home, everything would be okay.
This whole game
So
would be over. Yeah.
it really
So
just
I mean,
has
when
to
you
do
look at
with
that,
like, who are you? Who are you? Are
when
you
you look at it that way, do you think that the children are just as responsible for perpetuating these cycles as anybody else is? Or
I
is it
think
different for them because they just want to be saved? Or it does the ends justify the means, I guess is what I'm asking. Because we know that these cycles have been going on for centuries.
mhm,
That means the children have been pulling in centuries for centuries,
mhm,
generation after generation after generation of people just to get slaughtered.
yep.
At what point is too much? You know what I mean? Or is there ever a point that is too much, or is it justified to save their souls? I guess is the question.
I think that it goes back to what Jade says. Energy cannot be destroyed or created, it can only be transformed. When the children were sacrificed and they were betrayed by their entire town and their parents, their innocence was taken, their life was taken. They were treated horribly. We see them in cages by the people that were supposed to love them. You go from having energy of innocent, happy children to all of the sudden energy of somebody that has been mistreated, abused, murdered, betrayed by the people that were supposed to be the safest people to be around. So you are creating within that child, instead of a happy child that is satisfied with their life, you're creating anger, a sense of betrayal, a sense of being owed. You took something from me, you took my
Mhm.
life, and now you owe me salvation. You have damned me. You sold my soul, you sold my life force to this negative entity, clearly, and now I'm owed. And on top of it, you told me, as you were taking my life force, you told me, I'm going to save you. So you
Mm.
made a promise
A
that is
promise that they
pending,
want
and I'm
honored. You think
owed you
they're
coming
holding
through on
them
that
to that
promise.
promise, you think? Okay.
So that energy is just waiting. I'm waiting to be transformed. I am stuck here in the ever waiting because you told me, wait here, I will come back for you. And now there's a debt that you need to pay, right? And so if you want that energy to be transformed into energy that is free, you have to save them. You made them a promise. If that promise was never made, I don't think that From would have existed. I believe that something went wrong. What went wrong was that Jade and Tabitha told them, we'll save you. If they had never said this, their
Told them a
energy would have gone
story
to the
that
entity
gave
in
them
yellow.
hope. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It would have just gone to the entity in yellow, and he would have, gone victorious with more energy being transferred or transferred into him, and
Yeah.
nobody else paying the consequences. But everything is at a standstill. So I don't necessarily think that they are bad or that they can let people go because it's too much pain and too much suffering. I think that they created the monsters that the Ankoi children would become by telling
Mm.
them, taking from them, and then telling them that you will make them whole again. You set them
So
up that
so
way.
the children pulling people in generation after generation, it justifies the means, you think, in the end, just to to save their souls.
I don't think they have a choice. You told
Okay.
them to wait. When you tell a child, wait here for me, a child will sit on the steps and wait for you long after it's dark, long after the day has gone. They're
Yeah.
little, they're tiny children, they will wait for you. And so you have told these children that you sacrifice and traumatize, you've told them, wait for me.
So do you think it's maybe not just like I think that maybe it would make sense that maybe it's not like a conscious choice that the children are making to pull these people in every cycle. Maybe it's something a little more akin to what Jade said in season 4, where on some level, certain people just hear, naturally hear on some frequency the
Hmm.
cry out that these children are having, this cry for help that they're just putting out there into the ether. Some people just tend to hear it and get pulled into this place, and maybe it's not the children like physically choosing, like, oh, I'm choosing you, get the fuck in here, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like if the children were just deliberately just picking and choosing people to come in here century after century after century, knowing they were just going to get slaughtered one after the other, at some point, I do feel like that's a bit too much. The ends do not justify the means. But if it is something like something more of along the lines of like what you're talking about, I think that would make more sense, and I think it would paint the
Mm-hmm.
children in a more protagonistic light, I guess, where this isn't their choice either. They're victims of this, just like Jade and Tabitha are victims of these cycles perpetuating, happening over and over again. Where simply, you know, we learn that the children are pulling people in, but it might not be as deliberate as that. It might just be like again, like what Jade said. Maybe the children are just crying out for help, and certain people that can tune into that right frequency tend to hear it on some kind of level and end up getting pulled in that way.
Yeah, I mean, it really could be either or. It could be either or, but when it comes to children, I think that there's not much of a choice, right?
I think it would make sense that
They
way.
their life was taken, and so even if they did feel like I need to call out for help, he says they cry out for help. So they're
Exactly, and people are
stuck.
just
It's been
hearing it.
centuries
Yeah,
and they are not calling. It's been centuries and they're still crying, which means that their energy has been stuck there. For them, time hasn't moved. Remember when Victor said it never changes. The temperature, the fall, it's always this temperature. It never goes into winter. So he was really amazed that finally it was snowing because that was abnormal. It's been stagnant. So that to me kind of showed that they're stuck in this time and this place.
yeah,
Those trees have been around, they're always green. Winter had not come just
no,
recently. The temperature
no,
change and trees are moving and all of this change is happening. Boy and White says everything is changing, but meaning he was little for centuries because we saw him when he was little. And then we see him now
yeah,
growing through the time that we have been there, which means centuries he has been little. So
yeah.
it is not
Remain the
until
boy.
now that things are changing. So they're
Yeah,
stuck in this eternal crying. For them, we don't know how time passes. They could literally be stuck like the town and the trees and the temperature where it's just stuck on one channel.
exactly. I mean, for all we know, the time works on a completely different, realm of existence to the children than to people getting pulled in fromville generation after generation after generation. To them, it could be happening all at once for all they know. No, I like the idea of them, pulling people into fromville involuntarily, in the sense where they're just crying out for help, and again, like Jade said, certain people on some level could hear them and end up getting drawn in that way, as opposed to the children just deliberately just yanking people into this nightmarish hellhole generation after generation. I guess I like the symmetry, the idea of the children being a victim of these cycles and of this sacrifice just as much as Jade and Tabitha are now victim and forced to reincarnate every cycle and always get pulled in here.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just think it would paint the children in a more protagonistic light, as opposed to it being like a conscious choice that they're making every cycle. I believe the death of Thomas is Tabitha's fault. In a way, she was cursed not to have more than two children. I mean, and this is something that we've discussed this a little bit in the past. I remember when you were first talking about the original Tabitha, potentially, or the boy in white potentially being the original Tabitha and Jade's son. That they originally didn't just have the little uncouth daughter, but they had a little son as well, and the boy in white was the original son. And maybe that was the blueprint for all of the Tabithas to come. Why Miranda had two children, why Tabitha gets here, she has two children, maybe why Thomas had to die. It's a possibility. It's definitely a possibility. We have seen these blueprints and these character arcs, these character types like to kind of repeat. How would Victor know autumn would lead into winter if he never experienced that pattern? Well, he has. Victor has had experienced that. When Victor gets stuck in Fromville, he was like 10 years old when he gets stuck in Fromville. So he had spent, enough time in the real world to know what the real world was like, to experience the seasons and the cycles and school and all that. Again, he was around 10 years old
Mhm.
when he got stuck in Fromville. So he knew enough about the real world to know what autumn would look like and that winter would follow. And again, that's how he knew enough to know that this place never changed, because he had the
Mhm.
context of being in the real world. He has seen the seasons change before, and now that he's here, he sees the seasons aren't changing. So he has that context. So yeah, he was just old enough. Again, he experienced enough seasons in the real world, basically.
Yeah, he owned a short sleeve shirt and a winter jacket. So he owned
Bingo.
clothing that would
Bingo.
indicate he lived in two different temperatures.
Yeah.
And yeah, like Henry says, they had a whole life, a
Yeah.
room, toys, the old enough to know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, him and Eloise had they had the little bunk beds, the peach wallpaper, all of it. They had a little bit of a life, a good life it seemed, before they got pulled in here.
Well, we don't know because it seemed like
Well, we don't
Henry,
know. We don't know.
it
Yeah.
seemed like, and you pointed this out, which I didn't catch the first time, but when he starts playing the song,
Oh God,
Victor
yeah.
doesn't say, "What are you doing? Dad, are you okay?" He
Mhm.
immediately looks at him like, "Okay,
Fuck, not
Dad, we need to
again.
go." Like exactly, right? You pointed that out, which means Victor, it does seem like he was used to this. It does seem like it wasn't the first time because he wasn't afraid and he wasn't wondering, "Oh, Dad, what are you on?" He immediately knew. Oh, I know this vibe of my dad's.
Yeah, he do. He did. I mean, he just and again, it maybe it does indicate that there was a degree of that when Victor was a child, when they were growing up, in the real world. Maybe there was a degree of Victor being familiar with this side of his father
Mhm.
and mother, which again, that would make sense, and that would kind of line up with what we know about the younger versions of Miranda and Henry. They were party animals. Hell, they pawned their kids off so they could do one last fucking hit of acid. That's a hippie
Yeah, that
couple
was
that's used to doing.
crazy.
That's a hippie couple that's used to doing drugs. So yeah, I would say yeah,
Yeah,
maybe Victor was just familiar with his father in that
dude.
state.
I mean, I'm all for, you have a little wine, a little date night, you put your children, you get a babysitter for the child. Fine, parents do that. But it is definitely, out of the norm to have parents who say, "Oh, we're going to drop off the kids at the babysitters because we're going to do some acid." Like that is a little bit out of the norm.
No, just a bit,
It's
just
quite
just
a
a little
choice,
bit.
quite a choice.
It's not the most responsible, I guess you could say.
Hmm.
Not the most. Father Cautry was called upon to help a child. Kenny is a coach that helped the youth. Boyd calling was to protect his son and his world. His son cries out to him. It's the residents themselves. Again, maybe there is a little bit of an aspect of that, of this father, this parent-child aspect to a lot of the people that get pulled into Fromville, and maybe that factors into some of them hearing the call from the cry out from some of these children. Could be, maybe. Yeah, Victor was old enough to remember the outside world. Yeah, exactly, exactly. I think the child sacrifice created the town, and that is what I mean. I think it's very possible, very, very possible that this whole town, this place, this realm that is Fromville, whatever it ends up really being, that yes, is a possibility that it was created that very night of that sacrifice. That it was, you know, all of it started there. Again, we do hear from the boy in white that it all started with the children, and all might literally mean all for all we know.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think that's something that they're going to have to definitely go over in the fifth and final season. Of course, the origins of the town, really. And like someone said in the chat earlier, which came first, the entity or the town? Like, and that's another question we need to find out as well. Was the entity around long before this place, or which came first, the chicken or the egg type thing?
Mhm.
I guess we'll find out. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, I see the chat is always, reminiscent about Jim, the poltergeist, Polter Jim. And I would have to agree. A lot of people miss Jim, and I would have liked to see how the Matthews family confronts the reality of Tabitha being reincarnated and having this loyalty, this soul
Mm,
connection to a whole nother family, a family from centuries ago. We know that they were about to get a divorce, and we know
right.
that it seemed like they were getting closer. Ethan was happy seeing that the family was getting closer, and right when they get closer, you see that the woman that they had been wanting attention from, Julie, wants her attention. She says, right, that she kind of forgot about the two kids that she had. Jim desperately wants her attention. Her loyalty, her attention is with a whole nother family, another husband that she's traveling through decades of reincarnation with, who is not Jim. I would have liked to see the Matthews family handle that reality, specifically Jim, because
I
we know,
know.
I mean, they kind of set up this fight between Jim and Jade, the opposite, right?
Yeah,
They
yeah,
set this up.
yeah,
So I would have liked to
yeah.
have seen that paid off when they
Mm-hmm.
get to have a conversation, right? When they have to
Mm-hmm.
deal with that. What do you do, right? That would have been very, very interesting.
And and I think that's why Jade goes up to Tabitha right in that first episode. He's like, you, me, and Jim, we can go inside and we can talk about this. Like, can you just imagine what
Oh,
that scene would have looked like? You
ah,
got
that
Jade,
conversation.
right? Like what that conversation would have looked like, like what the writers could have done with a dynamic like that.
Wow.
Oh man, like I imagine that being such a juicy scene, seeing Jade, Jim, and Tabitha all sitting at the kitchen table together talking about talking about how, hey Jim, by the
Mm-hmm.
way, we're reincarnated, star-crossed married couple, by
Lovers
the way.
that have a
Just so you
child
know.
that we like love
Just
so
so you
much that
know.
we
And
keep
one of
coming
these
back to.
children are ours. Yeah. Like
I mean, oh,
how do you work
but
through
I
that?
really
How
like,
do you all find common ground, you know?
yeah. And I like that it wasn't a dramatic, it wasn't a Mari show style of
Mhm.
drama. The
Yeah.
way that Jade, we know that Jade, he loved messing with Jim, but the
Mhm.
way that Jade is very soft, very gentle, and
Mhm.
approaches the situation in a very calm and gentle way, where he says, Tabitha, can you, me, and Jim go inside and sit down and talk about this?
He
So
was.
he
Yeah.
is including Jim on this. He
Yeah.
is saying, I recognize that you are married to Jim. I recognize Jim's feelings. He wasn't just saying me and you should have a conversation. He is
Yeah.
honoring their marriage by saying you, me, and Jim, let's go inside and talk about this. So he's including him from the very beginning, not having a private conversation with her, which showed that Jade had all of the intention of making things as good as possible, making things work with how awkward it was, right? Giving them time to have an explanation and conversation. I would have
Mhm.
loved that to come full circle and to see Jim's attitude towards it. I mean, the scene where he says, like, he dies, but he's contemplating what is going on. He looks up at the sky and then he grabs his head and just crumbles into his hands.
Mhm.
Amazing. So I would have loved to see more of the character, the actor that plays Jim,
Mm.
show that emotion, because he was amazing, like at showing us without any dialogue the
Mm.
devastation of feeling your beloved just slipping away.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, I miss Jim. Like I missed his presence in season 4. I don't know why. Like I just going throughout the season. It wasn't until I got like 3 or 4 episodes into season 4 where I started realizing like something just feels different about this season. Something just feels off. And I zoned in on it. I was like, shit, it's Jim. It's Jim. Like, I actually liked Jim. I thought Jim was a very interesting character. Yes, he definitely had his flaws. He had plenty of things he, needed to work on. He was not perfect by any means. But he was a very interesting and fun character, and you could see everything that he was dealing with. The family man aspect of him, that he was just trying to do everything he could to protect his family. Maybe not always going about it the best way, but always very genuine at heart, and you knew where you stood with Jim. So yeah, I kind of missed him in season 4. And yeah, as Anna says, I love how respectful Jade is, but the bonding between him and Tabby was late to realize in the show, which I'm not really complaining about, because I'm not looking for a love story in a TV show like From. And yeah, and I don't think we'll get one. I don't think we'll get one. And yes, Jade did have respect for Jim. I 100% believe that. Because even Jade has said this. Well, the actor playing Jade, anyway, has said this in interviews, that the character of Jade didn't just get memories back when all of that came back to him. He got emotions and feelings back as well. Like, he remembered what it felt like to be in love with Tabitha, to have a child with her, to be married with her. So all of that came flooding back to him. It wasn't just memories downloaded into his head. It was real emotions as well. And yet he still kind of suppressed it. He still didn't act on it. He still, again, I think a big reason for it was out of respect for Jim, out of respect for Tabitha and the family that they had. And that's definitely, you can commend Jade for that, for having that respect and wanting to kind of sit down with Jim and Tabitha both, and talk about this and come to some kind of understanding, some kind of level
Yeah,
ground.
exactly. And I don't want a love story from, but I
No, I mean,
really like the intricate ways that they are handling such a complicated matter, like a marriage. Somebody that is very much in love, and then at a cosmic level is being told, this person that you're so in love with, they're actually soulmates with somebody
yeah,
else.
yeah,
And Jade confirming he clocks her as the person he's loved for centuries.
exactly.
So Jade confirming that there is a love here. It wasn't just a marriage, there
Not
is a
just a
love,
marriage.
centuries old love.
Yeah,
So I like how they were able to, in the most mature way possible, work
mm,
this relationship out.
yeah,
Because sometimes in life, he wasn't about fighting. He was just saying,
no,
we
no,
have been given like the facts, and the facts are what they are. But
yeah,
he acknowledges this is going to be extremely painful. But as far as Jade, there is no fighting, there is
no,
no aggression, there is just condolences towards Jim, because he knows your life is about to fall apart. It's not
yeah,
something, you can't change feelings, you can't change
no,
facts.
no,
So that's Jade. But I really like what Adrian is saying here very quickly. Adrian
yeah.
4. Jim was about it and he was ready for whatever. That
Ready
is
for
Jade.
whatever.
Now, Jim was about that life, and he
Oh
was
yeah,
ready
Jim was,
whenever,
yeah,
wherever he would have
whenever.
like not handled this very well.
Yeah, whenever. Again, I think Jim. Um, well, I also think that he came a long way too towards the end there, and he was very much evolving as a character, and starting to realize that maybe he was trying to hold on a little too tight, to the family, and maybe he wasn't going approaching it the best way in terms of trying to protect them. And he kind of started moving a little bit more into that realm of listening to Tabitha instead of just trying to protect Tabitha from herself, like actually listening to what she had to say, and helping her, and he did. But yeah, Jim was about it. He was about it. He was ready. He was ready. Again, I think Jim. I always pictured Jim kind of dying for his family. I just didn't think it was going to be this soon. I thought the Matthews family, the core characters of the Matthews family, would make it, towards the end or very close to the
Yeah.
end together before Jim died. But yeah, I mean, you certainly can't take anything away from him. He was ready. Jim was
Yeah,
ready
when
for
you watch
whatever.
back, and now knowing that he will die, when you watch
Yeah,
back, It is kind of heartbreaking seeing
It
how
is, yeah.
desperately he was trying to hold his family
A
together.
man just
Now
trying to
knowing
put his
that that
family
was not
together.
going to happen and that that is not even his family. That this
Yeah.
woman that he is so fixated on, is not the love of,
Not
you know,
only his, I guess you could say now. Yeah. Not just
oh,
his.
not only his.
Yeah.
Okay,
You
that's
know.
interesting.
I guess. Well, I mean, now if he finds out Tabitha is, this reincarnated, like, I mean, I have to imagine there's a part of Jim that's always going to feel like Tabitha is his wife, the love of his life. But now there's also this other part of him that knows she has lived many lives and was married to somebody else at the beginning of all of this. So
Eh,
that's something that definitely would have been, I imagine, would have been very difficult for Jim to kind of come to grips with that if he would have had more than 2 fucking seconds to digest it before he got killed.
I know. A good thing he
Ah,
got killed. Honestly, if I was Jim, I would have been like, thank God I don't have to process this because
ah.
I'm with Jim. If somebody told me the love of my life is not only mine, it's like, what do you mean? What do you mean? Not only
What do you
mine.
mean? Not only mine. Fuck you. It's my wife.
It's
And I
wild.
have to imagine that's how Jim would, want to see it, of course. And I think the type of person Jade is, well, again, I think we saw how Jade reacted to it, regardless of how he felt. I don't ever expect Jade to make any kind of move on Tabitha. Like, I would be so surprised if something romantically happened between Jade and Tabitha. I just don't think that's in the cards. And
Hmm.
like you guys said in the chat as well, I don't want that. I don't want to see a Jade and Tabitha fucking love story. It's the last thing I want to fucking see. But that's
Yeah,
just
no.
um, Welcome to Paradise says, what if there is no way to break the cycle, and rather one person has to stay for everyone else to be released? For instance, say the man in yellow is the last cycle. Could be Boyd, would be Dark, but dope. I mean, you never know where a show like this is going to go ultimately, I suppose, right? But I mean, I think a lot of that's what's interesting about shows like this and mystery box shows in particular, in terms of sometimes when you get to the end, you will see some subversions of expectations. It happens, especially in nowadays writing. It happens even more. And I think at least a big portion of the fandom are expecting that people will make it out. Maybe not a whole lot of people. I think it seems like most of the general consensus is that the people that do make it out are going to be few and far between. Like, not everybody is going to make it. A very small group might actually be the only ones that make it out of this. But that's a whole lot of assumption based on something that we don't really know is going to happen. How do we have no idea how the show is really going to end? Could it be a little bit more on the grim side, where everybody but Ethan does die? I don't think it's going to happen, but the show has, at the very least, set up a precedent for that happening, with Ethan literally voicing that fear into existence. And, after seeing what happened with Victor, after seeing that all this bad stuff is happening again, we've seen on the show that Ethan has a real fear that everybody could die and he'll be left here alone. So the show has at least set up the precedent of that being a possibility. Will it actually happen? No, probably freaking not. But again, you never know. Like, I guess we never know how dark is this ending really going to be. A lot of us are expecting a small handful to make it out, but what if they don't? What if the bad guy does win? It's very possible. But
Hmm.
again, unlikely. I think a few people will make it out, but it's going to be at a huge cost.
You know what? I think at this point, Patty will be the first one out of the tray, out of the doorway. She's gonna live to tell the story of From. That's how it's shaping up. But who knows? So many questions. So many questions. I'm going to head out. But
Yes, I'm going
Jeremy,
to.
thank you so much for having me.
Oh, of
And
course.
once again, love your father and
I know.
heart
Thank you.
goes out to your family. We're all here for you. And I'm sure he's proud. Well, I
Yeah.
met him. He was very proud of you. You
Yeah.
have, when I heard that you were doing the show today, I was very amazed. But you have this persistence for your channel. You have this love for what you do,
Yeah.
and this resilient. You're a very resilient person. So We're all here
Mm.
for you. We love you so much. And, once again, our condolences. But I, you are an example of resilience. You're a very good man, Jeremy.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I really do. And yeah, I mean, I'm glad you got to meet him. You know, he loved you. He thought you were great. How could he not? And yeah, I'm glad that he was a huge supporter of, what I did here on the channel. Even in the beginning days when nobody was sure if it would even amount to anything. He was always like, no, keep it up. So no, I appreciate that. And he was, yeah, great dad. Lived a great life. But thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And yes, I will not keep you any longer. I know it's late. It's getting late for you. I'm going to shut it down a little bit soon as well, just as I get through the rest of this here. But again, thank you so much. And yeah, I'll be back soon. So, lovely. Yeah, everyone hated Jade. I liked his character. Sorry. I liked Jade. I don't think everyone hated Jade. I mean, I think some people didn't like Jade in the beginning, but I loved Jade right from the very fucking beginning. Right from episode 1, or really episode 2, because you don't really get much of Jade in episode 1. But from episode 2 on, I really liked Jade. I thought Jade was great. No, Admiral. No. Ah, man, like how do you have that conversation, right? How do you have that conversation with someone? Admiral. I love Jade, and now I hate him. Ooh, now that's an interesting reversal, because we learned the entity always uses him to get the children. Ooh, interesting. Does he, though? I don't know. I mean, again, I think Jade is a very interesting, complex character, and I think out of all of these many different cycles, there's been probably many different iterations of Jade, and what he has and hasn't been guilty of doing in some of these cycles. But I just want to see the original at this point. I want to see the original Jade, the original Tabitha, and what was their true involvement in the original sacrifice. Because I still get the feeling that they have a darker hand in this than has been revealed. The original Jade and Tabitha might be a little more guilty than we think. At least I think. But I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, but yeah, I thought he was funny. At least try to figure stuff out. I mean, he was obnoxious. I mean, there's no denying that. Like when Jade first arrived, he was obnoxious, narcissistic, self-absorbed. He literally thought this whole place was a giant escape room that was tailor-made just for him. Now, at the end of the day, he didn't realize how right he really was. Like, actually, that's literally what Fromville is. Fromville is an escape room built for Jade and Tabitha. So he was right, just in the wrong context. But you know what I mean. Like, he thought this was like a game show, escape room. Again, little did he know how fucking right he was. But, we saw the kind of person that he was. This kind of, Silicon Valley tech fucking millionaire kind of douche nozzle. And he changes a lot. I don't know so much that he changes, but I think the real Jade comes to the surface the longer that he's here, because I think that the Jade that we know now and the Jade that we start to meet at the end of season 1, that was the Jade that he was always. I think this whole kind of asshole persona is mostly a persona. But yeah, Jade's changed a lot as a character. JR forgot about his boy Toby. I certainly fucking wouldn't. That's for damn sure. Like, if I was Jade, I would not have forgotten about Toby. I mean, I guess at this point, Jade kind of always, Jade's under the impression that Toby was just killed by one of the monsters. So I guess it makes sense why Jade doesn't talk about Toby very much, why he's not, like, actively trying to figure out what really happened to Toby. Because as far as Jade's concerned, he already knows. Toby was killed by one of the monsters when Sarah took the talisman off and opened up the door. So he kind of, he knows. He pretty much knows exactly what happened to Toby. But yeah, we don't see any reference to him, anything at all. We why these voices that were communicating with Sarah, whether it was the man in yellow or something else, most likely the man in yellow, why did they want Toby dead in the first place? A lot of questions surrounding Toby still. Lot of questions. Yeah, Toby must have spent a fortune. Toby, you're a genius. And again, big thank you to all of the big thank you to each and every one of you for all the condolences again tonight. I very much appreciate it. Very, very much appreciate it. You guys are the best. All right, let's see what else we got. Oh, we got some Sunflower here for 2 jewels and a silver star. Thank you so much, Sunflower, for the silver star and the 2 jewels and 10 jewels and the hiding emoji as well. Thank you again so much for the 10 jewels and the $10 super chat. Again, thank you so much, Sunflower. Very much appreciate it. Consuming blood. Older pre-Celtic and Scottish traditions note the certain fairies like the vampiric Bahabog. I'm gonna botch that one, so I'm not even gonna try it. Sith or Dirigdu possessed an insatiable thirst for human blood to survive. Now, again, I think the fae theories are pretty interesting, especially when you get to some of those kind of, the Celtic, Scottish lore surrounding some of these fairies. They're not pretty creatures, right? Like they're not the pixie dust sprinkling creatures that you see in Disney. That's not these kind of fairies. They're dark. They have a much more, darker origin. Like you said, consuming blood. All these traditions of, vampiric fairies, or even the practice of them stealing babies and replacing them with changelings. Like there's all this kind of dark mythology surrounding real fae. So I think there's a good reason why it's such a popular theory, why so many people, and again, especially even more so nowadays, it seems like the fairy theories are really making a resurgence. But even from the very beginning of the show, like just when season 1 had just aired, the fairy theory was probably one of the biggest theories in the fandom. Like it was one of the more popular ones. And yeah, it's still here. It's making a comeback. And again, we don't know what the man in yellow is yet. Still have no idea what the man in yellow is, what he turned the parents into. Like, yes, we see that they're these monsters, but what did he turn them into? Is there a name? Or did he turn them into some kind of fairy offshoot? Like, there's a lot of questions that we still need to get answered. But yeah, I think the fairy theories are very, very popular, and they're popular for a reason. But yeah, thank you so much, Sunflower, for the $10. I very, very much appreciate you. I owe you and Katrine Marie and a 10. I owe all of you guys. Oh, whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. All right, let's see what else we got. Let me catch up here a little bit before we shuffle off this coil. Tabitha from the streets of From. She has like hundreds of people. You're not wrong, right? I mean, I can't find any fault in your logic, my friend. I can't. I just can't. You are spitting facts. You are spitting facts here. The many husbands of Tabitha. This is true. Many husbands of Tabitha. Shit. That's funny. I wonder how many of the Jades have been married. Because we see that it seems like a lot of the Tabithas have been married and had her own children with some schmuck from whatever generation she was reincarnated into. But I wonder how many of the Jades were married and had kids and that got stuck in Fromville, or is it only the Tabithas that get married? That's one thing I wonder. Again, I guess we just don't have enough context yet. We've only really met this one Jade and Christopher. As far as we know, Christopher got stuck in Fromville. It didn't seem like he had a wife or any children or anything like that, not that we know of. So I do wonder that. Was Tabitha the only one getting married outside of the reincarnation? Or was Jade getting married every once in a while? Because Jade got a lot of wives out there, like Tabitha's many husbands. Maybe. I think Jade and Tabby will work together as a team, but not a couple. Yeah, and that's kind of how I think it's going to go as well. I can't picture them becoming a couple. I just feel like it'd be super, super freaking weird for Jade and Tabitha to become any kind of couple. It'd be just super strange. But yeah, they'll work together. Hopefully, anyway. Hopefully they will work together. Yeah, people did marry for love back in the day, so the original Jade and Tabitha didn't have to be soulmates. That's a very possibility. That's a good possibility as well. Although, but we did kind of get the confirmation from the actor playing Jade that it did seem like that was the case. That they were soulmates. Because the actor playing Jade kind of says that in an interview where he says when he clocks Tabitha at the beginning of season 4, like right after they get these memories back at the end of season 3, and then season 4 starts, and they're both back in town. When he sees Tabitha again for the first time, he not only remembers like memories of being married to her during that original cycle, but he also remembered how he felt for her. The feelings came back as well, and the feeling was of love. This is someone that I have loved over and over and over again. So it does seem like at least the actor was playing it as though that this was very much a soulmate that he was in love with. But again, that's just how the actor that's playing Jade is playing it. She's the love of Jim's life, but he's not the love of her life. Maybe he is for this lifetime, though. Again, I mean, I suppose there's a lot of different ways to look at it. Between, who is Tabitha's, who's the real love of her life? Is it Jim or is it the original Jade? I don't know. I tend to think each reincarnation has their own life, their own kind of feelings, their own everything. And this Tabitha, married Jim, and I think that's the only person she'll ever have feelings for. But I don't know. Again, I think the last thing a lot of us want is some kind of weird romantic thing between Jade and Tabitha. I just don't think the show. I just don't think that's what the show needs in its final season, especially its final season. Like this is literally the final freaking season. But yeah, we shall see. We shall see. And yes, he was. He was a boxer, indeed. Was a boxer. Oh yes, and me as well. Thanks to him. Yeah. And they do, Samuel. Very much so, my friend. Thank you. Thank you. Let's see what else we got. Scrolling down. Yeah, Jade's funny. Jade's always been hilarious. He's again, even when he first arrived, when he was a little bit more obnoxious, he was always fucking funny. Right from the very beginning, he was hilarious. Right from the very start, he was always funny. But I know not everybody liked his brand of humor when he first arrived. Some people thought he was just an asshole. That's totally fine. It's totally fine. Yeah, I thought Jade had a good sense of humor as a character. He does. It's that quick, witty, assholey kind of humor that I suppose maybe not everybody likes that kind of assholey, dry humor. But some people do. I think a lot of people do like that kind of humor. I do anyway. I mean, I like many different kinds of humor, but that is a humor that I always do kind of find funny. This rash, abrasive kind of prick just running through the diner like a bull in a china shop, thinking everything was just tailor made for him, cutting the line, getting smacked by Tien Chen, so he has to go to the back of the fucking line. Like, I find that kind of rash behavior funny when it's delivered properly, I guess. Like you have to have the right actor that is capable of being that kind of funny, without only coming off like an asshole. Like because there's a very fine line there where Jade could have come off as just like the biggest fucking asshole in the world and not even a little bit funny. Like if they would have played it, a little bit more extreme, which other roles have. So I really feel like it's that fine line you have to walk between being a little bit of an asshole, being a little bit offensive, but also being funny, with it as well, and not being like too bad. And I think that's how Jade was when he first arrived. But yeah, he was good. He was good. But yeah, I don't know. When it comes to Toby, I don't know what's happening there. I would love to see some kind of resolution to the Toby storyline. Will we ever get a definitive answer as to why these voices wanted Toby dead? I don't know. But yeah, Toby didn't deserve that shit, right? Didn't deserve it. Jade was such a Karen in the beginning at the start. Oh, man. Oh man, yeah, I still won't unnotice the pattern that Jade came into town the same circumstances as Sophia. I mean, a lot of people have been pointing out that scenario, the parallels there, in terms of how Jade showed up. A lot of people are very sus of Jade's entrance into Fromville in hindsight. Like when season one first aired, like we didn't really have any context. We just saw someone high getting out of the back seat of a car. But all these seasons later, after seeing where the story went, in hindsight, yeah, it seems like a lot of people share this sentiment where they're super sus about Jade's entrance into the town and how he kind of just pops up in the back seat, and how some people think that he isn't who he says he is. I don't know. I don't know. But it's a popular theory. It's a popular discussion for sure that From fans have been having for a little while now. A little while now. But I don't know. They need Sarah. I think they should keep that from Jade. Yeah, again, I think it's going to be interesting in terms of this final season how Sarah's going to be utilized. Because I feel like she wasn't really utilized much in season 4 at all, really. Like, they didn't really do anything with Sarah in season 4. And I thought that was a little disappointing that they didn't really give her much of a storyline. Yes, we had, a few episodes there where, Sophia moved in with her and Sophia was, messing with her. We kind of got that answer as to where Sarah was hearing these voices from. It seems like it has probably been the man in yellow the whole time. So we got some answers there. We got some progression. But I feel like we got more character regression than progression with Sarah in season 4 overall. Like just looking at the season as a whole, I feel like she kind of took a step back instead of a step forward based on where she was at the end of season 3, and how it seems like she had very much grown out of the season 1, season 2 Sarah that was capable of being manipulated. I didn't think heading into season 4, I didn't think this newest version of Sarah was capable of being manipulated like that. I thought she had learned her lesson, she had wisened up, she knows how this place fucks with you. The fact that Sophia was able to manipulate her so easy in season 4, it just, I don't know, it didn't really make a whole lot of sense for where her character was going, for me anyway. So not even a little, I was more than a little disappointed with how they handled Sarah's character in season 4. I feel like they could have done a lot better with her. But it's tough. I mean, you got so many characters, so many storylines that you have to balance. And that's what comes with a show like this, where I know I've said it in the past, but at times I just think they have just too big a cast. There's just too many characters that there just isn't enough time to flesh all of them out and to give all of them good individual storylines. There's just too many. But yeah, I think Sarah is one of the characters that could have been a little bit better in season 4. I don't think they gave her they didn't give her much of a story arc, unfortunately. But we'll see. Yeah, I thought I was going to see Tinkerbell. Hopefully, hopefully we don't see any Tinkerbells. If we see some, we might see some fairies, but I don't think we're going to see any Tinkerbells. Any old Tinkerbells. Maniel is a Rumpelstiltskin type character. I mean, you definitely see some similarities, right? 100% with Rumpelstiltskin and the Man in Yellow. Yes, I definitely see some parallels for sure. I bet Jade only got married to the original Tabitha because it was an arranged marriage. Yeah, and that's what someone was saying up earlier as well. And again, that's very well a possibility where it started off as an arranged marriage and that they ended up falling in love. Because again, when we get that information from Jade or from the actor playing Jade, that he didn't just remember the memories, but he actually remembers the feelings, like the feelings of love came back to him as well. That does kind of indicate that they were, it wasn't just an arranged marriage, that they were actually in love. Or, like you said, maybe it started off as an arranged marriage and it ended up, evolving into love. But it seems like, just based on the way the actor is playing it, that it was very much a love of his life type thing. That at least for Jade, maybe it was different for Tabitha or the original Tabitha. Maybe the original Tabitha didn't love the original Jade as much as the original Jade loved the original Tabitha. Maybe there was a little bit of an imbalance there, for all we know. So much about the originals that we don't know. which is why we definitely need a flashback. We need a really good, solid look at that original timeline. That's one thing that I feel like they have to do that in season 4. Like there's some things that they kind of just have to get to in order for the story to just feel complete. Certain questions that they need to answer, and I do think that's one of them. I think that's on that list. But we also have Anna. Wow, thank you so much, Anna, for the 650 jewels and the envelope. Very, very much appreciate that. Thank you so much. Definitely owe you a whoa for that one. Whoa! Thank you. Very much appreciate it. And if you have anything specific that you want us to dive into, by all means, Anna, throw it in the chat and let us know, and we will dive into it. Tabitha messed up so bad with the first Jade that the incarnation was married again. Maybe. I mean, it could be a possibility that the original one was just so scarred, just so damaged. The original Tabitha just left so much damage to the original Jade that he just subconsciously felt it throughout all of his later lives, and because of it he just decided to never get married again. It's a possibility. I suppose it is a possibility. I don't know. Guess we'll find out. I shouldn't say I guess we'll find out, because we'll probably never find out. Actually, we'll probably never know much details about all of the previous Jades. How many? I mean, maybe we'll find out how many there were, but in terms of like actual details about any of these other previous Jades, we're not going to learn anything about them. I just don't think there's enough time. Not with only one season left. But we'll see. We shall see. Yeah. It's definitely kind of slapstickish humor. Yeah, it's some people like it, some people don't. I guess that's okay. Nothing wrong with that. I think they sacrifice themselves for the children, and that is a very interesting possibility that we've discussed as well. A few times on the show. That this whole thing started with a sacrifice. What's to say the whole thing doesn't need to end with a sacrifice? I've always enjoyed the symmetry of that, where this horrific, just grisly, selfish sacrifice of these Ankui children to give these parents immortality. If it was just born out of complete selfishness, and that's another thing that we really need to get answered on the show as well. Why did the parents want immortality? Was it just this greedy need because they wanted to live forever? Or was it something that they felt they had to do to save themselves? We need more context as to why the parents wanted to be immortal, why they took this deal. But yeah, I think that's something that could very well be a possibility, where this whole story started with a sacrifice. Now the whole thing maybe needs to end with a sacrifice. Again, I like the balance to that. I love Jade's humor. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm glad I'm not alone. Jade's hilarious, man. Jade's hilarious. Yeah, Game of Thrones had a lot of that kind of humor. Absolutely. I mean, like if you watched Game of Thrones and you liked some of the humor from the Hound, from Bronn, from Tyrion, from characters like that, like if you liked their brand of humor, then yeah, you're probably gonna like some of the humor from Jade. Jade's isn't like as extreme or as like crazy as Game of Thrones can take it a little bit crazier because it's on HBO, but definitely in a similar vein, I would say. Like of the Tyrions and the Bronns and those kind of characters that are quick-witted, sharp, smart. Yeah, definitely some similarities for sure. But yeah, Game of Thrones had a lot of these. Tons of those. Almost too many. Maybe too many. Yeah, Jade knew Clara was trouble. He took her bike away. This is possible. Jade he just sensed it, right? I mean, just somewhere deep down inside his subconscious, Jade could just sense that Clara was no fucking good, and he stole her bike. I like it. I like it. Good stuff. I can not see Jade as a teenage girl like they initially were going with. I can't either. And I have to imagine like when they were originally doing that, like the character was probably so different. Like not just that it was originally a female character, but I have to imagine like a lot of the fundamentals of who the character was were probably going to be so different. So I almost consider them two different characters at this point, where not so much that Jade was almost a female, but that the character of Jade was almost just completely a different character, most likely. Because yeah, you just can't, it would have to be like this character that we're getting of Jade. It would have been different, obviously, if Jade did end up being a female character. But yeah, I kind of I couldn't picture it, right? I mean, after having this Jade for as long as we've had, and having David Alpay play him, I couldn't in a million years picture anybody else playing Jade other than him. He is Jade. Yeah, I can't imagine just trip on acid without being accused of being a demon. maybe, maybe. That's absolutely. I mean, but just make sure the children are safe. Make sure the children are safe first, like Miranda and Tabitha, like Miranda and Henry. Good old hippies. Uh, let's see what else we got. Jade was just lying in the back of that car, enjoying the fabric. He was rolling so hard, and that's kind of what I tend to think, that Jade was just super high, super high in that back seat, just absolutely just obliterated. Probably had no idea even what state he was in. Um, that's kind of how I picture it, and he just woke up to what he woke up to. But I like the theories. I think the theories are fun. The Jade is someone else theories. Some people are even going with the Jade is really the man in yellow theory, and that's how that's why the similarities between him popping up in Toby's car and in the priest car are so similar. And again, while I think they are fun theories, I think Jade is Jade at this point. I think Jade is good old Jade, and we've seen Jade in we've seen Jade and Sophia on screen at the same time before, so that kind of puts that to rest. But it is a fun theory. It is a fun theory, though, to the idea that Jade might be a little more than we thought. Why do we rip out Toby's tongue again? Yeah, again, I mean, I think when you look at Toby's tongue getting ripped out, part of me wonders if the mutilation was just simply to cover, just for pure cover's sake, to cover the fact that this was actually someone that was killed by Sarah, by a human. You cut up the body, you rip out the tongue, you just completely eviscerate the body, and you make it look like it was a monster kill. Just Toby, poor patient, laying in the hospital, got killed by a monster, just like Bing Chen. And in that way, you protect Sarah. You keep your asset safe from getting from getting uncovered. And it seems like that's all the voice wanted. After you kill Toby, it seems like after Sarah killed Toby, it seems like that's what the voices told her next. Make it look like a monster killed him. And that's how she did it, mutilating his freaking body. Although some people do think that the tongue in particular has a deeper meaning, that Toby's tongue got cut out, as a way of silencing him after he died so he couldn't communicate. As we know, some dead characters can communicate with the living, or at least that we've kind of seen. But yeah, again, a lot of interesting theories surrounding Toby. A lot of interesting Toby theories out there. That is for sure. But I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if we're going to get an answer. I really hope we do. I hope we get a definitive answer as to why these voices wanted Toby dead. I mean, were they just trying to isolate Jade? Were they just trying to take his only friend off the board so Jade would be alone, isolated, and have less of a chance of surviving here and solving this stuff here? Did the voices kill Toby thinking Toby was Jade? Did they mistakenly get the wrong one? Did they think they knew two cars were arriving? They saw one person get out of one of those two cars and maybe they just assumed that it was Jade. I tend to think that's a little less likely considering how all-knowing these entities and monsters tend to be in Fromville. They tend to know everybody's name and who people are. I think a case of mistaken identity is highly unlikely. So yeah, definitely some questions there as to why Toby. Again, it could have just been to isolate Jade, make him alone. Don't give him that best friend that he can lean on to help solve things, which I imagine he would have. If Toby was anything like Jade, then he was, he was potentially probably pretty smart too. You have two, Jade level intellect people inside Fromville working on everything. That's going to give Jade a much better chance of solving this stuff as opposed to him just being on his own. So maybe it was just to isolate him, but I don't know. Sure. But I do know we have Joan R for $10. Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Joan. I very, very much appreciate that. That is incredibly generous of you, Jeremy, towards your YouTube career. I very much appreciate that. That is super generous of you. Super, super, super generous. And I definitely owe you a whoa. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Incredibly generous. Yeah, you guys have always been super supportive. Super supportive. Can't thank you all enough. How is Tabitha's story any more credible than Jade's trip? That's a good question, right? I mean, and again, I think there are still a lot of fans out there that question Tabitha's story, Tabitha's memories, and even Jade's. People are even still questioning Jade's up until this point in terms of, is everything that has been just magically downloaded into their brains, all of these memories that just came flooding back all at once, how sure are they 100% that it is what actually happened and that they're not being manipulated in some small way? There are a lot of people out there that do ask that question. I don't know myself. Part of me does lean a little bit more towards the stuff they're remembering is real. I try to take what the show is giving me until it gives me something else. But I feel like we've had some signs, at least up until this point, pointing to that what we're seeing is legit, that Jade and Tabitha are getting legit memories back about this place, and it's helping them solve certain things, like the numbers in the bottles. Like if they weren't making any progress, then I would be a lot more suspect in terms of, is any of this stuff down that has been just magically remembered real? But they are making progress with the information that they have learned. So that does lead me to believe a little bit more on the side that it is legit and that they are getting back like real memories. But again, who knows? Are they really being manipulated? It's very much a possibility. He drank the blood skull, and that's about as good as we're going to get with the OG ritual. I mean, it could be. It could be. I mean, Jade picking up that skull, drinking the blood out of it, it was very much symbolic of Jade getting the memories back, of Jade, reconnecting with that original self. And could that be the only kind of glimpse we get of it? It could be. I don't think it will be, though. I feel like I do feel like the story will feel a little incomplete if we don't get a glimpse of the original timeline. But we might not. Again, we only have 10 episodes. Only 10 episodes. There is not a whole lot of time to flesh every single little thing out and show every single little thing on screen. So it might come down to one of those things where we don't actually see a ton of the original timeline, but we just maybe hear about it, learn about it through exposition, as the show has delivered many of its reveals in the past. Again, 10 episodes is not a lot. Not a lot, and they still got a lot to get through. Julie probably took from Jade's version. Maybe. Who knows? Who knows what Julie's getting up to and her story walking escapades and how many different freaking timelines and time periods she's already influenced. Are we going to come to find out that Julie has been involved in other stuff? A lot more than just stuff like throwing the rope down to Boyd inside Martin's chamber. Are we going to find out that Julie had a hand in other events that we just don't know about yet? We'll see. I have to imagine we're going to. I have to imagine that Julie, the reveal of Julie being the one throwing the rope down to Boyd, that didn't feel like that was a reveal in the sense of that was the payoff. That felt like it was a reveal in the sense of a foreshadowing for something bigger, in terms of we're going to find out that Julie also did something in a very similar manner, just to a bigger effect. So I'll be very surprised if we get through the final season and we see that Julie hasn't already influenced certain events in the past, like the 1978 massacre, for instance. Maybe there's something that happened that night that she directly influenced and always influenced, and we just don't know about it yet because our current Julie hasn't experienced it yet because her timeline isn't exactly linear now. But yeah, I think we'll find out that Julie has been in other places. I think we'll find other examples of things like her throwing the rope down to Boyd. It was the drop on the head on the way of Colony House that changed him. I mean, maybe a good drop on the head will change anybody. Change anybody, for better or for worse. It's gonna change anybody. Um, Sarah should have been more mentally hardened. And again, that was kind of my problem with Sarah in season 4. I feel like after everything she's been through in those first 3 seasons, after everything she overcame, and for her to kind of build up that kind of courage at the end of season 3 to go in and torture Elgin, to pull out his eye with a freaking screwdriver, just so Boyd wouldn't have to do anything like that. Just so Boyd could keep his hands as clean as he possibly could because she wanted to save Boyd's soul. That told me that, yeah, her character took a huge leap forward in terms of inner strength and how much she can handle now. So yeah, to see in season 4 her just getting super easily manipulated by Sophia and really with minimal effort. I mean, all Sophia had to do was call her, not even call her. All Sophia had to do was put something into her head and tell her to do it, and she did it. That's it. Like, all Sophia had to do was jump into a fucking pool, pretend to fall in a pool, and that gave Sarah enough of a scare that she was willing to go take a drink from that pitcher and then pour it all back into the communal pitcher that everybody drinks from. Sarah had no idea what was going to happen, and she even feared that, what if I pass what I have on to somebody else? And Sarah knows how devastating it is to live with this, to have these voices just accosting you any time that they want to. She knows how unpleasant that existence is. And she still thought that that was a possibility, that she could spread that on to others. And she did it anyway, all because Sophia fell in a fucking pool. It just doesn't make sense for Sarah's character. It just felt like a huge step in the wrong direction. But that's just me. That is just me. Yeah, Randall's another character who kind of suffered a little bit in season 4 in terms of character development and storyline in general. I feel like for season 2 and season 3 they utilized Randall pretty well, actually. I feel like he got a good amount of screen time, and not just good amount of screen time, but a good amount of story. Like his storylines were actually pretty good in season 2 and 3, whether it's him being part of they come for 3, the cicadas possessing him, getting shoved in Martin's freaking dungeon, or whether it's season 3 with him kind of getting left out and getting left behind by Boyd and getting all clipped up by the monsters and left for dead, thrown onto the ambulance. Randall has had a pretty interesting storyline in seasons 2 and 3. But yeah, in season 4, I feel like it started off pretty good. I think like the first half of season 4, Randall and Julie's storyline was one of the better storylines in season 4. Probably one of the best. I mean, outside of, Jade and Boyd and maybe Victor, I think I enjoyed the Julie and Randall storyline as much as any other storyline at the beginning of season 4. But then once we got like halfway through season 4 and Julie kind of stopped story walking, we stopped seeing Randall too. Like he just became like a non-entity on the show, where he would pop up just once in a great while, having some random conversation or argument with Julie in the background to little or no consequence. And yeah, it was unfortunate. I mean, if you go back and look at the season 4 finale, Randall has one line. he has one line of dialogue, and it's not even a long line. It's just a few words. He looks up at the sky when the freaking red lightning is going on, and he's like, "Damn, what the hell did we do?" Or what did, it's just something along those lines. A very short line. That's literally the only scene he has in the entire freaking finale, pretty much. So yeah, Randall is definitely another one who didn't get utilized near as much in season 4. Like again, it just feels like sometimes there's too many characters to the point where we don't have a ton of time to be spending time with NPC characters like Roger and freaking Patty. Like I don't know, I just feel like that's very valuable screen time that could have been used on any other character and it would have been better used. But I don't know. I am not the creator myself. I am not the creator. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Season 5, I think, is going to be fun. I cannot wait to see where it is going to go. How much stuff are we going to kind of get through? How much are they going to leave open ended? Will they be able to answer every single thing in Season 5? Or are they going to unfortunately leave a few things a little bit open ended or deliberately ambiguous? Sometimes shows will do that. They'll deliberately leave things a little open ended. And sometimes that's done just to leave the show ambiguous, or other times that's done to leave room open for spin-off shows or for sequel shows. So that's what I want to see. How is season 5 going to come together? What is it going to look like? Are they going to be able to answer everything? And will we get a satisfying conclusion? And what will that conclusion look like? Will it be a happy ending? Will it be a sad ending? Or will it be something kind of in the middle? I don't know. Don't know. But it should be fun to see. I predict 2 seasons or some kind of extra show or story shorts. They will need. They will need the set out. They will need that set out for everything it's worth before leaving. I mean, I don't see why they wouldn't, right? I mean, especially knowing that they literally built this whole town. Like, I mean, yes, it was an abandoned mining town, but they still built the majority of these buildings in that town for the show of From. Like again, they literally built a town. That's something that you plan on using over the long haul, and I would be very surprised if we don't get some kind of spin-off. Very, very surprised. Yeah, I can't help but think that they are playing the same character, kind of. Interesting. I still can't unsee the man in yellow and the boy in white walking along and discussing the same as Mortimer and Randolph with a $1 bet, though. Yeah, again, I think that last scene between the boy in white and Sophia or slash the man in yellow was, I mean, it was an interesting one. I guess it was kind of revealing in the sense of it gave us this, idea, which we already knew, and kind of confirmation of things that we kind of already knew, but that this has been going on for a very long time. They're very much on opposing sides, and Sophia or the man in yellow admires the boy in white, admires his persistence, even after all of these cycles of just failure over and over and over again. Jade and Tabitha just continuing to fail time and time again. For some reason, the boy in white is still persistent, and that's something that the man in yellow seemed to respect, acknowledge at the very least. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it was wasted time. There was much more we needed to know. Again, I think there was just at times. I don't want to say a ton, but definitely at times in season 4, the screen time it just felt wasted in terms of like some of the other stuff that they could have been showing. Like again, the Patty stuff, the Roger stuff, it was fun. Don't get me wrong. Like, how much fun did we have with fucking Patty Mel and NPC Roger and all the memes that were born from those 2 characters alone? So we had a ton of fun with them. But in terms of like, yeah, a narrative sense, a storytelling sense, yeah, you could have easily cut out all of that and dedicated that screen time to some of the more important characters and some more important reveals. Definitely could have. But yeah, we shall see. Yeah, they better give some answers. They better. And I think they will. I think they will. Boyd, don't you leave me, you piece of shit. It is one of the better fucking Boyd clips. Well, Boyd and Randall clips, I guess you could say.
You looking for these?
Motherfucker!
Take them. We get to keep Randall, though. You can't save them all.
Fuck you! Fuck you! Motherfuckers! Fuck you! Boy! Boy, did you leave me, a piece of shit?
Boy, don't you leave me a piece of shit. Poor Randall, man. Poor fucking Randall. Randall got a tough deal. Tough deal, our Randall. Our boy Randall. All right, let's see. Now, before we did want to close it out, I mean, there hasn't been a ton of new news on the From Season 5 filming front, although Harold Perrineau did post a little video earlier today. It's not much. It's just him and Ellis kind of just dancing, but it does say that they're up there on the coast. They are filming, and Season 5 filming is going on. It is going along swimmingly. Hopefully we'll get some more definitive news and some more definitive shots coming from the behind the scenes, pretty soon. Usually the stuff starts to leak out, after them already, a few months into filming. So I have to imagine we'll get some good stuff pretty soon. But as of right now, still not a ton of new stuff on the filming of Season 5, just some small behind-the-scenes shots here and there. But whenever anything new does come out, damn well I will definitely be talking about it, and we will be covering every single inch of it. But yeah, there we have it, folks. Season 5, the final season of From. I can't believe it's going to be the final season. But I do hope that we're going to get a very interesting final season, if nothing else. I know we all have a lot of questions that we still want answered, and shit, myself included. I very much have a good, solid list of things that I very much am really, really hoping that we're going to get in Season 5, and then I will consider, not a failure, but there's a list of certain things that if they're not in Season 5 and not revealed in Season 5, I will be a little disappointed, I guess I could say. But yeah, they found the lighthouse, right? Yeah, and that was the fun part of it at the end. Hold on, I'll pull it up again. But they found the lighthouse. That was it. Again, is it a foreshadowing? Are they trying to give us some kind of hint here? I'll pull it up full screen so people can see it. Right towards the end of the video, we see in the background a lighthouse. Now again, I gotta mute that music or I'll get copyright. Now again, it's not our lighthouse. It's not the lighthouse from, but it's very interesting how their video ends on, the zooming in on the lighthouse. I guess that's, is that an interesting foreshadowing? Are we going to finally get some kind of definitive answer in Season 5 as to, what the lighthouse really, really is? I hope so. I'm hoping that this was a little hint, a little Easter egg that they were showing us. But yeah, they found the lighthouse. Should be fun. Yeah, but any official news comes out on the filming of Season 5, we hear anything from the cast, the crew, anything official from MGM, you know us, we'll be right here talking about all of it. I might take a little bit of a break just from live streaming, just for, a few days, maybe a week or so. But I do have some recorded videos that are already close to just about done that I'll probably be uploading over the next few days. So definitely be on the lookout for that. Some interesting From videos. Tomorrow, I know this isn't exactly From talk, but tomorrow, I know for all of my GTA 6 fans out there, tomorrow it looks like is the Netflix world premiere of this little sneak peek that we're going to be getting for GTA 6. And depending on what we get in that reveal tomorrow, I may do a breakdown on it, might do a video on it, not a stream or anything. Again, I think I'm going to take a little bit of a break from streaming just for like at least a week or so, but I might do a breakdown on the GTA 6 stuff, just because I've been following this GTA 6 story very closely. It's been fucking wild, and anybody who's been following it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. These have been probably some of the biggest, craziest kind of gaming leaks that we've ever seen, even though some of them have recently been kind of debunked in terms of like some of the stuff that has been put out there. But nonetheless, it's been a crazy, wild story surrounding all of this GTA 6 stuff. So depending on what Netflix releases tomorrow, I might do a video on that and upload that. But other than that, I will see you guys very soon. Going to take just a short break and hang out with the fam for a little bit. But I will be here. I'll be in the Discord hanging out, popping in here and there, and we will continue our From rewatch parties. Probably after a week or so, I'll come back and we will continue our From rewatches. I know we're getting right down there towards the end of season 1. We will finish that. We will get into season 2 if that's what you guys want to do. If you guys want to go into season 2 after we're done with season 1, we will do that as well. And yeah. We will dive into all of the craziness that we have coming. And of course, if any good new shows pop up within the next few, weeks or so, we'll definitely dive into it. And I mean, there's not a whole lot of like really, really good TV on right now, unfortunately. I have some Lantern stuff that I do kind of want to release that I'll probably do at some point. But there just isn't like just a lot of really, really good TV out right now. So if a good show comes around and a show that everybody likes, we will definitely dive right into it, of course, and we will do some heavy lifting into whatever kind of show it ends up being. And if not, I know one thing, we got a really, really big 2027 to look forward to. I cannot wait for 2027. I can't wait. We got Severance, we got From, we got Shogun, Night of the Seven Kingdoms. We have so much stuff to look forward to in 2027. But yeah, big thank you to each and every one of you again, and a huge thank you for all of the support that you guys have shown, throughout all of this, and just, all the support you guys have shown the channel in general. Cannot thank you enough. And yeah, I will see each and every one of you on the next one. Keep an eye out for, I'll still be uploading regular videos, but I'll probably, I'll announce when I'm doing the next stream. Just going to take a short break, nothing too long, because I do genuinely love doing this. And it is a break from the day-to-day shit, you know what I mean? Like getting on here, hanging out with you guys, talking about all the stuff that we love. It definitely gets your mind off all of the other stuff. So, you guys know me. I don't like taking big breaks. So I'll be back again, probably just take a short little hiatus, but I will be uploading regular videos in the meantime. So be on the lookout for those. Definitely check them out when they are up, and drop your comments down below as always, guys. And until then, again, big thank you to each and every one of you. And I will see all of you guys on the next one. Cheers.
Okay, ding dongs. If you don't subscribe to Jeremy Ice and Fire, you're gonna spend the night in the box.
Aren't Cooey.
I think this is when it happened.
Okay.
Oh my God.
I did try to warn you.